4, and this is the 10th meeting of the current term of the Metropolitan Council of Nashville and Davidson County. Will all members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation is being offered this evening by Mr. Ahmad Ayub with the Islamic Center of Nashville. Mr. Ayub is the guest of District 5 Council Member Sean Parker.
Good evening, council members. I'd like to take the chance to thank Sean Parker for letting me lead today's invocation. My name is Ahmad Ayub. I am a 20-year-old Palestinian American born right here in Nashville. There are many Palestinian families in Middle Tennessee that have lost a number of members in their families, including Brother Hussein Bahour, who has lost over 150 members of his family in Gaza. It is therefore important for elected officials and everyone to know that what is happening in Gaza is affecting so many here in Nashville. As a Palestinian, the footage from Gaza replays in my head daily. We are learning to cope with the deaths of our little nieces and nephews, our aunts and our uncles, our cousins and our friends, and 30,000 other innocent men, women, and children. We wake up every day to new footage of another innocent Palestinian being killed, another family member we must grieve, another child shot, carpet bombed, or starved to death. My invocation today is for them and for us here in Nashville. God, Almighty and most merciful, aid us all in never losing sight in the fact that our smallest decisions have consequences that ripple outwards and affect so many. God, guide these council members to what is best for Nashville and its residents, and aid them to always seek your pleasure in everything they say or do. God, rescue the steadfast in Palestine, be an aid and helper to them. Lord, be with our brothers and sisters, neighbors and friends, and all those suffering in Nashville, in Palestine, and all around the world. Remove their anxiety, lift their hardships, cure their injured and sick, pardon their tested ones, and have mercy on their deceased. Bless our city, state, country, and our world, and show us the path to peace. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All may be seated. Thank you, Mr. Ayub. Okay, council members, I have several announcements and reminders to bring to members and the public's attention regarding the District 5 school board vacancy that was announced at last meeting. The clerk received one nomination, and that was by Councilmember Terry Vo for Ms. T.K. Fain. By law and the process that I outlined for you at last meeting via memo from Director Darby, this vote may not be taken till the council meeting of March 19th. So we will address that then. Our election commission conducted an election on Tuesday, hence our meeting today on Thursday. And they cannot do that important work for our democracy without the support of well-trained poll workers. So I want to express the council's thanks for all the folks working the polls and for our election commission staff, and encourage members of the public to please consider also serving as poll workers. So thank you to them all. Members, you will have received also via email last week the slide deck and a link to the recording of our Affordable Housing 201 educational session with Angie Hubbard and the Housing Division of Metro Planning. We appreciate the Housing Division joining us and really wanted to express our thanks to them again for providing that helpful information. Members and the public can find the recording and the slide deck and other resources, the dashboard of the Housing Division and so forth at the council's orientation and continuing education, all those resources online at nashville.gov, Metro Council Office, and Metro Council Resources. So, February 25th to March 2nd was Severe Weather Awareness Week here in Tennessee, and March 3rd was the anniversary of the devastating 2020 tornado. I appreciate members sharing information about that with the public and encouraging everyone to sign up for severe weather alerts. Members, as part of our partnership in the Safe Places Initiative, you were sent a spreadsheet last week identifying mobile home communities in all your districts. A special thank you to Matthew Wilkinson on our staff, again, for compiling that. So please do give that a close look and continue to work to find more places where our most vulnerable residents can go in a tornado warning. Lastly, as Nashville's Arbor Day celebration approaches, local nonprofits and Metro have been working along with many Nashville volunteers throughout the winter to plant numerous trees across our city as part of the Root Nashville campaign. And so helping maintain and restore our tree canopy has been and will be really important because it has been particularly devastated by storms, the emerald ash borer epidemic, and construction. So please be on the lookout and join tree plantings whenever you can, because they are a lot of fun and they make a lasting difference for our environment and the beauty of our city. Members will have an invitation on their desks, and the public is very welcome also, of course, on Wednesday, March 20th at the East Park Community Center, 11 to noon, to celebrate Arbor Day. Okay. Without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the adoption of the minutes from February 20th, 2024? Properly seconded. There's a motion properly seconded. So without objection, the minutes of the meeting of February 20th are adopted. Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, we are moving right into our agenda, Section E, election and confirmations to a variety of boards and commissions. Vice Chair Prep T. Let me find you, sir. There you are. Committee report, please.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee considered the following appointments and voted the following for approval unanimously. For appointments to the Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Advisory Committee, the committee voted unanimously to approve the following individuals: Mr. Matthew Hertz, Dr. Catherine McDonald, Miss Ashley Wilson. And those are the ones who were voted for unanimous approval to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission.
Okay, I appreciate that. We'll just continue through the entirety of your report, and then we'll figure out how to kind of group them once we get to the end of that, okay?
Okay. For appointment to the CATV Special Committee appointments, the committee considered Ms. Joan Fleming and voted 5 in favor, 0 against for appointments. For the reappointments to the Equalization Board, the committee considered Ms. Deb Dawson and voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval. For the Fair Commissioners Board reappointment of Mr. Todd Hartley, the committee voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting in favor of approval. For the Parks and Recreation Board appointment of Mr. Sean Foster, the committee voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. For appointment to the Traffic and Parking Commission, the committee voted Mr. Neil Kornitik 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. And for the for the Traffic and Parking Commission appointment of Mr. Jama Mohammed, the committee voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, appreciate that, Vice Chair Prep T. Were there any folks set to be before us that were deferred?
Yes, Madam Vice Mayor, the following were voted for a 1-meeting deferral. Appointment of Dr. Harold Martin to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission. The committee voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for a 1-meeting deferral.
Okay.
For an appointment to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, the board voted for a 1-meeting deferral of Mr. Nathaniel McDonald, 6 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting, as well as a 1-meeting deferral for an appointment to the Equalization Board of Mr. Derek Starks for a 1-meeting deferral, 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, all right. So now that we've got that full report, thank you, Vice Chair Prep T. I think what I'm going to ask for then at this juncture, if we could, can you make a consolidated motion for E2, E4, and E8 to be deferred 1 meeting, please, sir?
So moved.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Any discussion on the deferral of those 3 appointments and reappointments to be deferred 1 meeting? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any noes or abstentions? Okay, so those, Mr. Martin, Mr. Nathaniel McDowell, and Mr. Derek Starks will hopefully be back with us at our next meeting on March 19th. Those are deferred 1 meeting. So after that, Mr. Prep T, it sounds like everyone else can be taken together. Could you share with me again the vote on E11, sir? Was that not unanimous?
That was not unanimous. For the
Okay.
appointment of Ms. Kathy Leslie
Okay.
to the Planning Commission, the committee voted 4 in favor, 1 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so what then, Mr. Vice Chair Prep T, I would suggest then is again a consolidated motion for all the remaining agenda items, E1, E3, E5, E6, E7, E9, E10, E12, and E13, with the exception E11 pulled out.
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? Okay. Properly moved, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on those appointments or reappointments in a consolidated vote? Okay, seeing none, we can take all those together. All in favor of those appointments, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, and then lastly, Mr. Prep T, if you would please make a motion for item E11, sir. For Ms. Kathy Leslie to the Planning Commission.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I move we adopt the appointment of Ms. Kathy Leslie to the Planning Commission.
Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this reappointment? Okay, let's see. Do we presume we'll have a no vote? So we can just take it by voice, I think. Yeah. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no? Okay. I see 1 member voting no. May we just record that with the clerk? Mr. Druffel, you'll be recorded as a no. Mr. Clerk, will you so note it? Any abstaining? Okay, seeing none. All right, with that, we have also reappointed Ms. Leslie. Okay, folks, so I will now recognize everyone who has been confirmed, asking you to stand individually as I call your name for a collective applause and thanks from the council at the end. Okay, to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, Mr. Matthew Hertz. Also to the BPAC, Dr. Catherine McDonald. And please remain standing for us. Thank you. Okay. Also to BPAC, the appointment of Ms. Ashley Wilson. To the CATV Special Committee, Ms. Joan Fleming. To the Equalization Board, Council has reappointed or confirmed Ms. Deb Dawson. To the Fair Commissioners Board, reappointment of Mr. Todd Hartley. To the Parks and Recreation Board, Mr. Sean Foster. And then to the Traffic and Parking Commission, Mr. Neil Kornitik and Mr. Jama Mohammed. Thank you all very much for your willingness to serve, and congratulations on your appointments and reappointments. I mention Miss Leslie? And to Miss Leslie as well. My apologies. Thank you, Miss Leslie. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please apologize to her for me. I circled it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you again to all our appointees who were confirmed this evening, including Ms. Leslie. Thank you all. We've moved through that section of our agenda, and now we move into public comment. Okay. We are on section F of our agenda. Pursuant to the Tennessee Code, annotated time is reserved for public comment on legislative items appearing on this agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak may sign up on the council meeting sign-up sheet at the Metro Clerk's office counter on the day of the scheduled meeting. Public comment sign-up for council meetings ends at 6 p.m. Public comment is limited to 20 minutes total at council meetings, and each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. I will call the speakers in the order in which they have signed up. I will mention the agenda number and the bill number as well. So again, pursuant to Council Rule 28 and state law, public comment is limited to matters on the agenda. So folks may only speak about items that appear on the agenda and only speak about the item for which you signed up. Okay. First to sign up this evening is Mr. Danny R. Yates, speaking on agenda item 49, resolution 2024-284, which is the Tracy Turner settlement. Mr. Yates, you are acknowledged, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Danny Yates. I'm a retired firefighter and current president of Nashville Firefighters Local 140. I live in Aaron Evans District 12 at 2220 7 Point Circle in Hermitage. I rise in support of a yes vote for Captain Tracy Turner's resolution on tonight's agenda. It's number 49. In 2022, a Nashville firefighter posted his opinion about license plate readers on social media and called the majority of Metro Council members white supremacists. The NFD disciplined him for violating their social media policy, and he responded by filing a lawsuit contending a violation of his First Amendment right to free speech. Also in 2022, 11 council members, of which 10 are still elected officials, signed a letter of support asking Chief Swan to consider the firefighter's comments as just his opinion and nothing else. The council members also stated the firefighter's posts and comments were benign and similar to others they frequently received. Council members also requested that Chief Swan affirm the firefighter's right to share his opinions, whether we agree with them or disagree with them. Captain Turner expressed his opinions on social media concerning people who set fire to our historic courthouse and who looted businesses and destroyed property on Lower Broad. He called a few people some names, just like the firefighter did. Even though Captain Turner was expressing his opinion, he did not receive a letter of support. Instead, an administrative member of the NFD Several council members and at least one state representative publicly shamed him and called for his termination from the NFD. After Captain Turner was demoted to a firefighter for 6 months and physically removed from his assigned fire station, he was restricted from working at a permanent fire station for 2 years. He filed a lawsuit.
Mr. Yates, your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Gary Moore is also speaking on agenda item 49. Mr. Moore, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor and council members. Thanks to my council lady, Webb. I appreciate all of you for what you do. I won't repeat my name. You just told them who I am. But I do want to talk about this issue. I want to talk about the process. President Yates, by the way, I'm representing IFF Local 140 as well. But I want to talk about the process. How many times has this Metro Council gone against the recommendation of Metro Legal when they negotiated agreement and sent it to the council in the form of a resolution to be approved? Yet, evidently, they changed their mind. It's my understanding, unfortunately, I missed Budget and Finance yesterday, but it's my understanding that Legal was there saying that now they want you to vote it down. I want to know why the change. What happened? To me, I honor a negotiated agreement. When I agree to something, you can write it in stone. It's an agreement. But evidently, Metro don't share that. Another question I'd like to ask, I hope somebody's writing these questions down because I do want them answered. How many times has this Metro Council voted against a recommended resolution to this council by Metro Legal? I've been up here a long time watching these resolutions, and be quite honest with you, I usually don't read the resolution. They're usually always automatically approved. So I didn't see there would be any battle against this, but evidently there was. So I question the process, and there's two questions I want answered. Number one, how many times has Metro gone against what Metro Legal recommended in the form of a resolution? How many times has this council gone against it? How many times have you voted against it? It's a shame, in my opinion, that two different cases, which were pretty much identical in the process, are treated differently. Both of them were addressed as First Amendment rights. One was treated one way and one was treated the other. What kind of message do we send there? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next is Mia Brown, speaking on agenda item 51, resolution 2024-286, which is a grant supporting our Office of Family Services. Ms. Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm here supporting Resolution 286, the Justice for Families Program grant from the U.S. Department of Justice with focus on finding solutions to increase safety for victims of violence and offender accountability. Again, please listen to the wording. Justice for families, safety for victims of violence, and offender accountability. We should welcome federal funding to Nashville in Resolution 286, which appropriates funds from the American Rescue Plan to provide funding for immigrant legal services. Many immigrants are refugees, victims of forced immigration, and survivors of genocide. Currently, approximately a third of the world's refugees are Palestinian, according to UN statistics. So now consider the $14 billion Congress has proposed to send to Israel for the objective of ethnically cleansing Gaza. How can those who suggest a resolution to offer immigrant services be quiet when billions of our tax dollars are being used to slaughter whole families? Over 30,000 Palestinians, including over 15,000 children, have perished, and thousands more are being starved to death while Israelis are filmed throwing parties blocking aid trucks, while IDF shoots them when they try to reach the food. Nashville and this council must refuse to remain on the wrong side of history. Please be brave. Please be courageous right now during this time of history and demand a ceasefire.
Ms. Brown, your time
Please,
is up,
I'm begging
please.
you.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next is Phyllis Brown, also speaking on agenda item 51, 2024-286. Again, this is a grant supporting our Office of Family Services, Justice for Families Program Grant from the U.S. Department of Justice, acting by and through the Office of Family Safety. We have several similar grants, but this is to focus on finding and implementing collaborative multi-agency solutions to increase interpersonal violence victim safety and offender accountability. That is what 51 is about.
I believe I made a mistake.
Are you Phyllis?
Yes, I'd like to speak on 39, please.
Okay, well, that is not the rule, sir, as I
The docket
indicate.
wasn't present whenever I signed up, so I
Okay.
misremembered the number.
You can't do that, Phyllis. You can come speak if you'd like. Would you like to speak, Phyllis? We do have a wait list, so if you don't want to speak, we can move on to folks next on the wait list. So you have to speak on agenda item 51 for which you've signed up, Phyllis.
Honorable council members, I stand before you today in support of the resolution allocating funds for eviction defense to low and moderate income renters in Davidson County.
That is not item 51, Phyllis. Okay? All right. Mr. Ryan Dickerson for agenda item 39, 2024-274, which is appropriating $2.395 million in ARPA funds to provide legal representation for low to moderate income renters. Mr. Dickerson, are you here to speak on agenda item 39?
Absolutely.
You're recognized, sir.
All righty. I'm here today with PSL Nashville to speak on that resolution. I think this resolution shows that, there's some things that individual council members can do that can provide great material gains for people here in Nashville. However, I think it's worth noting that those gains are still subject to revocation, also obstruction by other council members. Whether the council members like it or not, they're all subject to discipline through various mechanisms by the economic ruling class here in Nashville. And so if anybody ever finds themselves asking themselves, why is it that council members appear to sometimes act in irrational ways? Well, we find ourselves in an irrational political economy. It's inevitable. It was Upton Sinclair that said, it's hard to get a man to believe something if his salary depends on him not believing it. And so this resolution is about landlords. I also want to speak out on the most brutal landlord in history, Israel, and encourage somebody to sponsor a ceasefire resolution in Gaza. Free Palestine.
Okay, next is Mr. A.B. Badru, speaking on agenda item 51. Again, that is, pardon? Oh, I apologize, 53, Mr. Badru. So that is a 2024-288 is a resolution requesting the Metropolitan Planning Department, Metropolitan Department of Codes and Building Safety, Historic Preservation, a myriad of departments to provide a comprehensive analysis of recommended changes to the Metropolitan Code of Laws to increase allowable density in Nashville. Is that the item that you will be speaking on, Ms.
Yes.
Badru? Okay, you're recognized.
Good evening. My name is A.B. Badran.
Badran. Thank you, ma'am, for the correction. I apologize.
It's fine. I'm here to oppose 288. Increasing the population density of an urban area like Nashville may not be in the best interest of everyone involved. If not managed properly, this could lead to overcrowding and an increased risk in disease transmission, harmful emissions from a greater concentration of vehicles, and a drastic loss of our vital biodiversity. This would not only affect the environment around us, but the delicate social fabric of our city as well. I'm a Palestinian American and local Nashvilleian, and I find myself questioning who this resolution truly serves. Not the locals or many of our marginalized communities, and especially not our increasing unhoused populations. We do not need more high-rise apartments for only the elite that can afford it. If anything, we need to be utilizing our time and our resources to create more affordable housing for those who are already here and require such attention. We should also be turning our gaze to how this correlates to the land-grabbing auctions being carried out for the Gaza Strip, conducted by Israeli businesses after almost 6 months of a brutal genocide against my people, the Palestinians. This is another dismal example of choosing profit over humanity. And if you, my dear council members, feel the need to turn this notion on its head, then vote no on 288. Instead, let's put our energy into something that would benefit our local community as well as our global community. For instance, a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Next is Deluvio Palazzolo, speaking on agenda item 51, 2024-286. And just as a reminder, this is a resolution approving an application for a Justice for Families program grant through our Office of Family Safety to increase interpersonal violence victim safety and offender accountability. Is that the item on which you are speaking?
It is, and I am actually just going to say I'm moderately impressed. I was expecting to have to correct the pronunciation, but hello, distinguished members of the council. My name is Deluvio Palazzolo. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a trauma and decolonization psychologist. I live here in District 14. Hello, Jordan. And I in what we call Nashville, which is on the traditional lands of the Yuchi, Shawnee, and East Cherokee, and I'm here today to speak regarding Resolution 286. As someone who has supported and worked for over a decade with survivors of interpersonal violence, such as sex trafficking and abusers with military connections, it gives me some hope to see a resolution like this. It sets a precedent, as in it multiple organizations and peoples are uniting together in a mission of love and compassion. Souls from all walks of life are joined in sending two powerful messages at once. The first, that this council and Nashville Metro at large supports, defends, and seeks to better the lives of those who defy their abusers. Second, and most important to me, both personally and professionally, it lets oppressors and those who rape, traffic, beat, humiliate, kidnap, unlawfully imprison and surveil, stalk, murder, and use other such violent and abusive tactics know that our collective Nashville community is united against them. As the horrors, impacts, and pervasiveness of interpersonal violence worsens with each day and dollar, this joined message is of some of, if not the highest import. It is in the spirit of this unity and the justice for which this unity is meant that I am encouraging this council to vote with conscience. Vote to protect and support those fleeing, fighting, defying, and resisting their abusers and oppressors so that they can live in peace, dignity, and freedom. Vote to pass Resolution 286 and support a permanent ceasefire resolution for Gaza, Free Palestine del Rio al Mar.
Okay, next is Craig Bardo. Mr. Bardo is speaking on agenda item 56, which is a resolution by Ms. Vo that I understand will be withdrawn this evening. This is a resolution expressing support to the General Assembly for House Bill 468 and Senate Bill 1050, which would provide increased revenue options for creating and preserving affordable housing in Nashville. Are you here to speak on agenda item 56, Mr. Bardo?
I am.
You're recognized, sir.
And happy birthday. After World War I, communists, socialists, and Marxists came to power in the city-state of Vienna, Austria. There was a severe shortage of housing, so the government did many things to help the struggling population, including, most famously, embarking on an ambitious project to buy city land and to build housing during the period referred to as Red Vienna during the 1920s. That commitment is the foundation for what The Economist magazine praises as the most livable city in the world today. 80% of residents are eligible for social housing, and 60% live in social housing that costs a third of European counterpart cities like London, Paris, and Dublin. This is something Nashville can do. Madam Vice Mayor, my hat's off to you for your principled resistance against the stadium financing that those structured as revenue bonds, as opposed to general obligation bonds. This will constrain the capacity of the city to act on behalf of struggling residents. So my counsel to you is to direct the MDHA and the Housing Trust Fund Commission to commission a study on how Nashville might participate in a social housing project like that in Vienna, Singapore, Helsinki, Montgomery County, Maryland, and others. But by all means, don't call it public housing because that gets coded as black or for the undeserving poor, which matters in this town, as we've seen from the actions of Wallace Dietz and the Arts Council. Affordable housing programs accomplish none of what happens in Vienna. They're part of the predatory market feeder chain of programs that contribute to violent displacement and dispossession of vulnerable populations. The violence of markets comes in the form of rent increases, evictions, and homelessness. Free Palestine.
Your time is up, Mr. Barter. Thank you. Virginia McEwen is here to speak on agenda item 44, resolution 2024-279, which is a Nashville Public Library Foundation grant. Is that the item on which you're here to speak, Ms. McEwen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're recognized.
All right. Thank you all so much for allowing me to speak. Council members, as we celebrate and honor Women's History Month, a time dedicated to honoring the contributions and resilience of women throughout history, I thank you for supporting the library and for, in advance, for your wholehearted support in passing this resolution, which acknowledges the vital grant from the Nashville Public Library Foundation to bolster the Votes for Women room and its archives digitization efforts. As a voter and as a woman, I recognize the sacrifices made by those who came before me, paving the way for my voice to be heard at the ballot box and to be heard right now. A privilege that I hold dear and one that I exercise with absolute reverence. The Votes for Women room, if you haven't seen it yet, please visit. It is a sanctuary. It explores Nashville's role in the women's suffrage movement and Tennessee's role in passing the 19th Amendment. And it is an engaging monument to the resilience and determination of those who dared to challenge the status quo. This solidarity and spirit extends to the struggles of women everywhere, whether they are fighting for their right to vote or, as in the case of Palestinian women, their right to live. The UN reported last week that over 9,000 women alone, have been killed in Gaza since October by Israel. With our taxes, with our weapons, 63 women on average a day are killed, leaving behind devastated families and a devastated Nashville community. Please, I urge you to bring to a vote a permanent ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McEwen. Next is Fatima, and I do apologize, Kerwandire. Okay, please, we're here on agenda item 36, resolution 271 regarding immigrant legal services funding. Fatima, with my apologies for your last name, you are recognized.
Thank you. In 2023, Nashville received $259.8 million from the American Rescue Plan. Do you know the percentage represented by that number out of $14.1 billion? It's less than 2%, 1.84% to be exact. Now, let's set aside that number for a moment. Every time federal tax dollars make its way to Nashville, this is a win for everyone in this room. I support Resolution 271, which appropriates funds from the American Rescue Plan for immigrant legal services. Many of the Nashvillians who will benefit from these services were refugees first. Do you know which group of people make up the largest stateless community globally? Palestinians. Now, let's return to that $14.1 billion. This is the most recent amount Congress has proposed to send to Israel. I am sure everyone in this room can come up with 14.1 billion ideas that could better serve the lives of all Nashvillians. How about more than the measly $150,000 to support small business entrepreneurs in Resolution 273, or the $75,000 to benefit small minority-owned businesses in Resolution 272. I find it very ironic that this body is taking up a resolution to offer immigrant services, but sits by idly while our taxpayer dollars are used to kill more than 30,000 Palestinians and displace 1.5 million of them. This is why Nashville and this council must rise up and send an unequivocal message to Washington, D.C. We demand an immediate ceasefire. We refuse to be complicit in the genocide of Palestinians any longer. No more funding the monstrous military-industrial complex. These endless wars have drained our coffers, leaving our communities starved of essential resources. I support 271, 272, and 273, and I ask this council and the rest of the speakers to call for a ceasefire.
Next from the wait list is Mr. Michael King on agenda item 54, resolution 2024-89 by Councilman Bradford. Mr. King, you're recognized.
Thank you. Michael King, owner of Monell's Restaurant, in front of you, and I'm grateful for the resolution. I want to make it clear it's not about Monell's losing the lease there at the manor. It's about Nashville losing another historic property. Monell's generates between $35,000 and $45,000 of sales tax in this one location. And we're fighting the airport right now is because their response has been nothing to us and everything that we have done to present to move the building, to save the building, to renovate the building, to nothing. And I think this resolution is important because it is a speed bump to give us a break and a breathing space to find a partnership to something that is very, very important that's been dealing with Nashville since the late 1800s, and even more so a political centerpiece as well as a hospitality centerpiece. We serve between 8,000 and 9,000 guests a week, and out of that, 60% of those are locals who bring back their friends and families from out of state, but 30% of those are individuals that come into Nashville as guests, stop at the manor either on their way into Nashville, or we are the last stop before they leave. The airport would like to demolish the building, leaving this land. FAA they're not going to do anything to this property. And so there we have a revenue source that is absolutely going away by May 1st because they just don't want to deal with an old building. So I really encourage you to give us this speed bump so that we can find a partnership and get this moving and save something historical that we continually lose. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. King. That concludes our public comment sign up. That is everyone that signed up. Thank you. Now we are moving on to section G of our agenda, bills on public hearing, zoning public hearing. Corrine, we do have Spanish interpretation services available this evening, and those will be offered by our own council team member, Karina Valdez. Ms. Valdez, will you please share how you can help folks?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Karina Valdez. Si alguien necesita ayuda con interpretación, estaré sentada a mano izquierda. Gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Okay. Our first two items for zoning public hearing, Section G, item 1 and 2 can be taken together. They are BL 2023-56 and BL 2023-57. Sponsor Rutherford is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR to A and SP to SP zoning on properties located at 6419, 6423, and 6431 Pettis Road, and a portion of property located at 8001 Warbler Way, approximately 620 feet northeast of Nolensville Pike, 28.71 acres to permit 230 multifamily residential units and a fire station, all of which is described herein. And again, it's companion bill, ordinance BL 2023-57, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2023-56, which is a proposed specific plan zoning. As previously indicated, the proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Mr. Rutherford, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. Can we take items 3 and 4 as well, because they're all going to defer?
Let me, are they related, sir, or?
It is all the same property.
Okay, all righty. Well, if I may, I'm just going to need to read that into the record, okay? So at the sponsor's request, because all of these are also related, agenda item 3 and 4, BL 2023-58 and BL 2023-59, also Rutherford is sponsor. For 58 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing a specific plan for a portion of property located at 8001 Warbler Way, southwest of the terminus of Tanager Drive, zoned SP 1.41 acres, to remove 1.45 acres, right? 1.45 acres of open space from the SP, all of which is described herein, and BL 2023-59, which is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws and Zoning Ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from SP to R40 zoning the property located at 6397 Pettis Road at the northeast corner of Warbler Way and Pettis Road, 0.96 acres, all of which is described herein. So, Mr. Rutherford, sir, you are recognized then on all 4 of these bills.
Thank you, Madam President. I move deferral on all 4 items to the first meeting in May.
Okay. There is a motion for the deferral of all 4 of those bills to the first meeting in May. Is there a second? Okay, properly seconded. Is there any discussion about this deferral of these 4 items? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or abstaining? All right, those items are deferred to the public hearing on May. Is that 2nd, Ms. Darby? I believe it's April 2nd. I do apologize. Okay.
First meeting in May.
First meeting in May was
May, not
May
April.
7th.
May.
Thank you. May 7th. As indicated, first meeting, proper motion, duly noted. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Rutherford. Okay. Mr. Rutherford, as I understand it, if you were going to go out to May, sir, we have to remake that motion because you're going to need to suspend the rules, and that is due to
43 that requires the 60 days being
Rule
60 days.
Rule 43, any more than 60 days relative to notice, sir. So if you would like to make a combined motion, and you can move, why don't you just start by moving to suspend the rules, sir?
I make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay. Did you go before the Rules Committee in that regard?
I did not.
Okay, and you do not have to do that per Ms. Darby. Okay, a little slightly unusual. We'll figure it out. Okay, and so there is a motion to suspend the rules so that Mr. Rutherford can move these bills to the meeting of May 7th. Is there any objection to the suspension of the rules? Seeing no objection, the rules are now suspended. Okay. Now we will do the motion again, please, sir, for all 4 of these bills.
Thank you. And I renew my motion to defer all 4 of these bills to the first meeting in May.
So noted. Is there a second? Properly moved, properly seconded. Any discussion this time? Okay. Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, those bills have now been deferred to the meeting of May 7th. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Russell.
Thank you, and I thought that would be easy.
Yeah, it's never easy here. Okay. All right, so then we are now on agenda items 5 and 6, which can also be taken together for purposes of zoning public hearing. And I will read them together accordingly. But we will then, Mr. Eastlick, given your substitute, we are going to take them together for the hearing, sir, but we'll vote separately after. Okay, so I'm going to read them. BL 2023-103, sponsor Eastlick, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from RS20 to SP zoning for property located at 3800 Old Hickory Boulevard at the corner of Anthony Street and Old Hickory Boulevard, 0.39 acres to permit 5 multifamily residential units, all of which is described herein, and its companion bill, also sponsored by Eastlick, BL 2023-104, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2023-103, the proposed specific plan zoning located at 3800 Old Hickory Boulevard. The proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Okay, Mr. Eastlick, you are recognized, sir.
I move to open the public comment.
Our public hearing, yes, sir. Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Are any here in favor of this bill? Please raise your hand. Okay. Are any here in opposition to these two bills? Please raise your hand. Okay, I just saw somebody stand. I wanted to make sure she was not seeking to be recognized. Not seeing anyone in opposition. Does the gentleman wish to speak in favor? Okay. All right. It comes given that, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Eastlick, for motion on your first bill, please, sir.
Yes, I move with the substitution and a brief comment.
Okay, let's get the bill before us before the substitute. Okay, so Mr. Eastlick has moved approval of BL 2023-103. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved, properly seconded. That bill is before us now, sir. So then you can now move your substitute with a brief explanation.
Yes, I move to substitute with a brief comment. What we have done, I had a community meeting. We talked about some of the concerns of the community, and with those taken in, we are moving from a 5 to a 4 unit SP.
Okay, I appreciate that. Let's see. So we have a motion to move this substitute we've heard an explanation. Is there a second? Okay. Is there any discussion about Mr. Eastlick's substitute? Okay, seeing none. All in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, you adopt the substitute. So now it's back to you, Mr. Eastlick, for your bill as substituted, sir.
Yes, I move the bill as substituted.
Okay. Do I hear a second? Properly moved, properly seconded. All in favor of the bill as substituted, please say aye. Okay. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. Seeing none. Okay. Mr. Eastlick, then on BL 2023-104, sir, it's to you because we have to vote that separately given the substitute.
Sure. Move forward with the substitute or open comment?
We combined our public hearing on both items. We had to separate them so that we could get the substitute onto your bill that has now been substituted. So it's just on 2023-104. It is a motion to approve on second reading, sir.
I motion to approve it.
Okay. I hear a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any no, any abstaining? Okay. Your bill as substituted and its companion bill have passed second reading.
Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item 7, BL 2023-117, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws and the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to R6 zoning for property located at 2327B Whites Creek Pike, approximately 265 feet northwest of Luzon Street, 0.15 acres, all of which is described herein. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Will all those here in favor of this bill please raise your hand? Okay, seeing none, will all those here in opposition to this bill please raise your hand? Thank you to you both. Do those in opposition wish to speak? Yes, please come on forward. If those in opposition wishing to speak will please come to the podium. You may provide your name and your address if you would like. You do not have to provide your address if you want to just indicate where you reside or work in relation to this property. You're recognized.
Hi, my name is Wilma Buchanan. I live in District 1, but I have interest in District 2. And that's why I'm here tonight. I would prefer not to give you my exact residence address. I do not work. I am now a retired worker from the Metro government. My concern is that Metro is trying its best to find proper housing, affordable housing for its residents. And I commend you, this council, for that. However, I'm quite concerned, particularly in this particular state, that on this particular area, this is on Whites Creek Pike. There is no parking for anyone that comes around the curb to this particular property. Now, this particular property has been divided up into two pieces. One of it's Part A, and this one will be Part B. My concern is, what are we going to do to get the people out safely that they can pull into their prospective residence and pull out, or visitors can pull in and pull out, noting that Whites Creek Pike is very, very busy. I thank you for listening to my comment, for my request, and I thank you for doing such a good job as a Metro Council. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else seeking to speak as part of the zoning public hearing for BL 2023-117? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, on your bill.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I move for approval with a brief comment.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, so there was a community meeting held. The property owner presented to the community. This is to build two houses, both which will have their own garages for parking. There were no objections from the community about the project. So I encourage my colleagues to vote for approval.
Okay, Ms. Toombs has moved approval with a brief explanation. It was properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill on second reading? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, seeing none, this bill passes second reading. Okay, next on our agenda is item 8, BL 2023-128, sponsor Porterfield. Okay, you have signed on to Ms. Stiles' bill. Okay, sponsor Stiles and Porterfield. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from MUL to AR2A zoning for property located at Mount View Road, unnumbered, and the southeastern intersection of Mount View Road and Crossings Boulevard, 2.13 acres, all of which is described here in. Okay, I'm looking at my notes here regarding the sponsor. You've signed on. Okay, Ms. Porterfield, it's to you, ma'am. And there you go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. The lead sponsor would like to withdraw, so I will be withdrawing today.
Thank you. The bill is withdrawn. BL 2023-128, sponsor Stiles and Porterfield is withdrawn. Okay, that does not require a vote. Moving on. Okay. Agenda items 9 and 10 are companion bills, and they can be taken together. They are BL 2023-130 and BL 2023-131, sponsors Huffman and Horton. The first is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from CS to SP zoning for property located at 3910 Central Pike, approximately 240 feet west of Old Hickory Boulevard, 2.06 acres, and located within a planned unit development overlay district to permit 127 multifamily residential units in an existing building, all of which is described herein, and BL 2023-131, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws and the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by canceling a portion of a planned unit development overlay district for the property located at 3910 Central Pike, approximately 270 feet west of Old Hickory Boulevard, 2.06 acres, zoned CS. Okay. Mr. Horton, sir, it's to you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move to suspend Rule 43.4 so that I may then defer to the May 7th public hearing.
Okay, is there any objection to a suspension of the rules so that this item may be deferred to the next public hearing? Okay, seeing none, I declare the rules suspended, and so it's back to you, Mr. Horton, for your motion.
Thank you. I move to defer to the May 7th public hearing.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, Mr. Horton has moved to defer both these bills to the public hearing of May 7th. Thank you. Keep wanting to say May 2nd. May 7th. It's properly seconded. Is there any discussion about this deferral? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, both these items are deferred to the meeting of May 7th, the public hearing of May 7th. Okay, moving on to agenda item 11, BL 2024-154, sponsor Coupon, is an ordinance amending section 17.36.120 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations regarding the age of eligibility for signs to, typo, be considered for a historic landmark signage overlay. Mr. Coupon, sir, you are recognized on your bill.
Just in time.
Just in time.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move the bill for approval.
Okay, we are on zoning public hearing, sir. So this, you're going to need to see if we have anybody here to speak.
I would like to move to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this bill? If so, please show by raising your hand. Okay, seeing none, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this bill? Also seeing none. Okay, last call for BL 2024-154. Anyone wishing to speak? Okay, so I declare the public hearing closed, Mr. Coupon, and it's back to you for a motion on the bill.
Now I would like to move for approval, please.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, Mr. Coupon has moved approval on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, this bill passes second reading. Moving on to agenda item 12. BL 2024-211, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by amending a specific plan for various properties located along Limestone Place, River Pearl Place, and West Trinity Lane, approximately 215 feet west of Young's Lane, zoned SP, 5.15 acres, to permit short-term rental properties not owner-occupied and modified building height and sidewalk conditions, all of which is described herein. Councilwoman Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I believe this needs to be deferred to the April 2nd meeting.
Is that, can you affirm that, Ms. Darby? Okay, this is being deferred for notice reasons to the meeting of April 2nd. Do I hear a motion, or rather a second for Ms. Toombs' motion? Okay, properly moved, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this deferral? Seeing none, all in favor of the deferral to April 2nd, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, this is deferred to the meeting of April 2nd, to the public hearing of April 2nd. Okay. Next on our agenda is item 13, BL 2024-212, sponsored Taylor, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from OR 20 to MULANS zoning for property located at 600 40th Avenue North at the northeast corner of Delaware Avenue and 40th Avenue North, 0.26 acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Taylor, you are recognized on your bill, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is anyone here seeking to be recognized to speak in support of this bill? Okay, so I see one hand in support. Is there anyone here in opposition to this bill? Please show your hands if so. Okay, seeing no one seeking to be recognized in opposition, does the gentleman here in favor wish to speak? Okay, I see him nodding his head no, Mr. Taylor. And so with that, anyone else here on this bill? Okay, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Mr. Taylor, on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, BL 2024-211 has been moved for approval and properly seconded. Is there any discussion of this bill on second reading? Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Mr. Taylor, your bill passes second reading. Next is that's 13. We're moving swiftly. Agenda item 14, BL 2024-213, sponsor Benton, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR2A and R10 to CL zoning for property located at 436 Eazell Pike, approximately 627 feet east of Bush Road, 1.17 acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Benton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benton. I declare the public hearing for BL 2024-213 open. Anyone here seeking to be recognized in favor of the bill? You can show by a raise of hands if you're for the bill. Okay, seeing none. Is anyone seeking to be recognized in opposition to this bill? Please show by raising your hand. Okay, last call for the zoning public hearing on BL 2024-213, sponsor Benton. Okay, Mr. Benton, seeing no one seeking to be recognized on this bill, I declare the public hearing closed and is back to you on your bill for a motion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval.
Okay, Mr. Benton has moved approval, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on Mr. Benton's bill? No? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining on this bill? Okay, this bill passes second reading. Okay, next on our agenda is item 15 and item 16. These are companion bills, and they can be taken together both for the public hearing and for the vote. BL 2024-214, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from CL and OR 20 to SP zoning on properties located at 1520 Hampton Street and Avondale Circle unnumbered, at the southwest corner of Hampton Street and Avondale Circle, and partially located within a corridor design overlay district 1.81 acres, to permit up to 51 multifamily residential units, all of which is described herein. And again, the companion bill, agenda item 16, BL 2024-215, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-214. And the proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Ms. Toombs, you are recognized on both these bills.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of either of these two bills? If so, if you would please raise your hand and stand as well. That's good. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to these two companion bills? You can raise your hand if you are here to speak in opposition. Seeing none, does the gentleman in favor wish to speak? He is nodding his head no, Ms. Toombs. And so with that, last call on these two bills for zoning public hearing. Okay, I declare the public hearing closed. And Ms. Toombs, it's back to you for a motion on these bills.
Move for approval.
Okay. Ms. Toombs has moved for approval of both BL 2024-214 and 215 on second reading, properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Ms. Toombs, both those bills have passed on second reading. Okay, on to agenda item 17, BL 2024-216, sponsor Taylor, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R6 to OR 20A, zoning for property located at 601 21st Avenue North, approximately 410 feet west of Spruce Street, 0.24 acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Taylor, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Please open the public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Would those in favor of the bill please raise your hands? If you're here in favor of BL 2024-216. Okay, seeing none. Is there anyone here in opposition to this bill? Please show by raising your hands. Okay, last call on BL 216. Nope, okay. Mr. Taylor, I see no one seeking to be recognized in favor or in opposition. And so with that, I close the public hearing. And it's back to you, Mr. Taylor, for a motion on your bill.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
Okay. Properly moved, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill on second reading? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay. Mr. Taylor, your bill passes on second reading. Okay, moving on to agenda item 18, BL 2024-214, or rather 217, I apologize, 217, sponsor Benton, and its companion bill, agenda item 19, which is BL 2024-218. Okay, this is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR2A to SP zoning for property located at 5043 Mount View Road, approximately 1,000 feet southeast of the intersection of Mount View Road and Hickory Hollow Parkway, 2.03 acres, to permit 20 multifamily residential units, all of which is described herein. And again, it's Companion Bill 218, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-217. This proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of the buildings. Okay, Mr. Benton, it's to you, sir. Both these items may be taken together for purposes of public hearing.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here seeking to be recognized to speak in favor of Mr. Benton's bills 217 and 218? If so, please raise your hand. I see you, sir. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to these bills? Ms. Hancock, ma'am, I'm sorry. Okay, I see you, ma'am. So we have one to speak in favor and one to speak in opposition. Do you both wish to speak? Okay, sir, if you are speaking in support of the bill, if you would please come forward first. Thank you. And if you would please give your name and your relationship to this project, please, whether that be your address or otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Wiseman, Callis Design Group. I am the civil engineer for the project, representing the owner of the parcel. My address is 5100 Tennessee Avenue. I'm here to offer my support. We've had community meetings where we've discussed this project at length with some of our immediate neighbors, and that outcome, as Mr. Benton will tell you, was not well attended, although it did come with good input on the project. We felt like the community was receptive to the density we were proposing on the site. We've satisfied all of NDOT's comments as far as access management and making sure we had the proper site distance, as far as working with our neighbors to get additional easements to clear trees to make sure we had the proper site triangles. This project is not seeking to over-densify what this property is, and given the topography of the site, we are limited on what the density that we can provide. So we're have plenty of ample green space. We're proposing cross connections to our neighbors to utilize as access easements. So we're just seeking approval of this bill to help support growth in this area.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ma'am, would you come forward, please?
Good evening.
You're recognized.
Deborah Arnold. I've lived in the Antioch area where this project is going to take place for 50 years. The concern that we have met with everybody, as he well said, our concern is still the water and stuff that runs through the area that could cause flooding in the area. Other concern I've heard is the Mount View Road, where they're going to be entering into building the project. That is a very, very small road that curves right around like a snake that ends up on Hickory Hollow. Our concern is how you're going to get in and out of the project. It's one of the concerns that the community has had. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized on these two bills? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Mr. Benton, it is back to you on your two bills, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to move approval with a brief comment.
Go ahead, sir.
We will continue to work with the residents in the area. I think the builder is certainly amenable to doing everything they can to make sure that this works out. And water is definitely something that is an issue already, and we're making sure that this project does not exacerbate that problem, but also if there's something that we can do up the hill is where this is going to be to improve that too. And I think our builder has agreed to such thing. So we also have, time to do more talking. So with that, I'd like to move approval.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded on second reading. Is there any discussion on Mr. Benton's bills? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or abstaining? Okay, you have passed second reading on BL 2024, 217, and 218, Mr. Benton. Okay. So now agenda item 20, BL 2024-219, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R10 to RM15ANS zoning for property located at 2126 Belfield Avenue, approximately 166 feet northwest of Courtney Avenue, 0.45 acres, all of which is described herein. Councilwoman Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here seeking to be recognized in favor of Ms. Toombs's Bill 219? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see you, sir. Is there anyone here in opposition to this bill? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, does the gentleman in favor seek to be recognized? Ms. Toombs, he is nodding his head no. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized for the zoning public hearing on this bill? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. And is back to you, Ms. Toombs, for a motion on your bill.
Move for approval.
Okay, Ms. Toombs has moved. I hear a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, 219 passes second reading. Okay, next, agenda item 21, BL 2024-220, sponsor Taylor, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 1708 17th Avenue North, approximately 250 feet northwest of Wallace Street, 0.19 acres, and located within a detached accessory dwelling unit overlay district, all of which is described herein. Councilman Taylor, you are recognized on your bill, sir.
Yeah, I believe this is deferred by rule due to lack of notice.
Okay, it is deferred for lack of notice, but is not by rule, sir. You'll need to make a motion
I
and
move for deferral to the first meeting in March.
in April, sir.
Oh, sorry. We're here. We're in March, in April.
Okay, so there is a motion for a deferral of this item to the first meeting in April, properly seconded. Okay, thank you. Any discussion on this deferral? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or abstaining? Okay, BL 2024-220, Taylor is deferred to the first meeting in April. Okay, moving on to agenda items 22 and 23, which are companion bills and can be taken together. BL 2024-221 and BL 2024-222, sponsor Parker. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from CS and RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 35, 25, 35, 33, 35, 37, 35, 39 Dickerson Pike and Dickerson Pike unnumbered, and Due West Avenue North unnumbered, approximately 970 feet south of the intersection of Dickerson Pike and Due West Avenue, 36.92 acres to permit a mixed-use development with 22,000 square feet of non-residential uses and 525 multifamily residential units, all of which is described herein. And again, it's companion bill 222, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-221. The proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Mr. Parker, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We'd like to defer this, both these bills to the public hearing in April, so the next public hearing meeting.
Okay.
Deferral of 2 meetings.
Okay, so there is a motion to defer to the meeting of April 2nd. Do I hear a second? Okay, on both these bills, any discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Mr. Parker, both your bills are deferred to the public hearing of April 2nd. Okay, next on our agenda, again, companion bills, agenda item 24 and 25, BL 2024-223 and BL 2024-224. Sponsor, Benedict. The first is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to SP on property located at 1009 Solly Drive, west of the corner of Gallatin Pike and Solly Drive, 2.31 acres to permit 24 multifamily residential units, all of which is described herein, and the companion bill 2024, which is an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2024-223. The proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Ms. Benedict, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here seeking to be recognized on these two bills of Ms. Benedict, 223 and 224? If anyone in favor of the bill, please, would raise your hand. Thank you, gentlemen. Is there anyone here in opposition to the bill? If so, raise your hand. Okay, we have several in favor and 2 I see in opposition. Given that, do the gentlemen in support of the bill wish to be recognized and speak? Okay, come on forward, please. If you would please state your name, address if you so choose, and your relationship to the project, please, sir.
Thank you, Council. My name is Josh Kulik. I work with Los.
Sir, if you could pull the mic up to your mouth so we can hear you a little bit better.
Thank you. My name is Josh Kulik. I work with Los Design, the landscape architect, and represent the client for this project. So, though the agenda does show that this project has made an appearance in the Planning Commission in January of this month, or January of this year, it has been an ongoing project for the past 2.5 years. We have had initial public input meetings even before our pre-application meeting. Over these past couple of years, we have been deferred and worked with the community to not only reduce the density per the community's request, but we have rearranged the vehicular circulation, and we've worked with planning to make sure that along with this request for an SP, we do not have a request for a change in land use or community character. So we're really proud to say that we are following the Nashville Next plan for the community character for this community. It does support the future transit by allowing a little bit more density. It's not as dense as this could be, and it certainly fits within the guidelines of the community character policy. And we feel the location a block away from Gallatin Pike, a future major transportation enhancement corridor, is appropriate for this type of development. We do feel like we have engaged the community, and there have been additional notifications along with council requested community meetings. And thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do any of the other gentlemen seek to be recognized to speak in favor of the project? Okay, all right, with that, would those in opposition like to come forward and speak? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Mi nombre es Margarita Lazo.
My name is Margarita Lazo.
Yo vivo en el distrito de Emily Benedict.
I live in Councilmember Benedict's district.
Y yo el hecho por qué estoy aquí es porque tenemos demasiado tráfico en esa área. Tengo 20 años viviendo allí y ahora estamos llenos de tráfico.
The reason I'm here today is to speak
Tenemos 20 años en esta hectáreas viviendo.
She's been living there for 20 years, and she is,
Hay mucho tráfico.
and is stating that there's too much traffic in the area.
Ya. Y lo que estoy pidiendo es que no haya más construcción ahí alrededor.
And she's asking that there is no more construction in that area.
Sí. Porque ya no podemos ni salir ni entrar cuando venimos de trabajar porque hay demasiado tráfico. Okay.
She states that they're no longer able to come and go from work because there's too much construction in her area.
Gracias. Gracias. Thank you.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Sir, if you could please quickly come forward. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you all for having me. Thank you for supporting us and being here to listen. My name is Trent Mueller. I'm a fourth generation Hunt working and operating Hunt Memorials, which is directly in front of where this new build is going to go. With that being said, I raised my hand for opposition, but I just have questions. Want to make sure the small business and small people in this community are represented when we do these types of projects. I know progress is inevitable, but I want to do my due diligence that progress doesn't destroy 4 generations of Nashville business. My great-grandfather started the company in 1928. And I've seen large projects like this from things we've worked on as a company, but also in the past 5 years, we've had 2 substantial builds on Gallatin Road within 2 blocks of our property. With those builds, I know the gas station directly across the street from us has been impacted logistically in terms of accessibility for a gas station and then dollars. I've spoken with the owner there. Because of the construction and logistics that come with these large builds, they lost customers. That's a scary thing for small business nowadays. With all the competition for the dollar, that's my job, is to cover, my company for that. I would hate to see this new build and this new progress hamper my business, from the logistics to the construction to the finalized project and to how that will impact my business. When there's these large projects, there's dump trucks, there's construction, there's stoppage of traffic, there's drilling, there's construction all over the place. And that's just what I've seen the past 3-4 years around our business. Again, I'd be happy to work with the people making this project and in front of this, but I just want to ensure that a small family business and the surrounding areas, other family businesses, aren't impacted by a new build for the sake of progress. So thank you. Hopefully we can work together on this.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized in opposition? Okay, seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed, and it is back to you, Councilwoman Benedict.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like committee reports, please.
Let's see. Okay, actually, we've already provided the committee reports.
Oh.
There are no committee reports on this.
Thank you. So I'd like to move the bill, please, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Ms. Benedict has moved approval on both bills, correct, Ms. Benedict?
That's right.
It's companion bill 223 and 224. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on the bill?
If I may make some brief comments?
you may.
Thank you.
Of course.
So I appreciate folks coming out in opposition to this, and I want to connect with you in the hallway if I could, as soon as we're done here. I want to make sure the small businesses in the area are impacted as little as possible. Folks, colleagues, this is a location that is about 100 feet off Gallatin Pike. It's right near the intersection of Bradley Parkway and Gallatin Pike. High traffic area, great opportunity. It's 2.3 acres. It's a great opportunity for us to put some middle density housing here, which is what these folks have designed. This is in an area that was District 8 prior to this last election. My predecessor in that area, Councilmember Van Rees, worked with the community on this as well. And the developer listened to them and came back and brought a smaller number of units. The other thing that they did was they're looking at doing smaller square footprints so that they will keep the price point down. Obviously, as a body, we cannot legislate based on price point, but they did work with me to make sure the square footage was smaller, so hopefully that will drive a lower price for the people who end up living there. I understand the concerns about traffic. This is on Solly Drive. I have asked the community multiple times to turn in applications on the traffic calming program. District 7 has received more traffic calming awards than any other district in the city. We have a lot of dangerous neighborhood streets, and this is one of them. But because that is a neighborhood-led program, I do need those folks to turn that in. we're in that open application period, and I've once again advised them, please, let's do this. How can I help get that done? So that is part of the plan as well. I think with that, I would like to talk with folks in the hallway. With the developer here, I would like to get commitments in regards to construction and connect them with the small business owner. I think this is a real opportunity. There is some construction across the way with a new development that did impact the Shell gas station, but once that development is open, I think it's going to benefit that Shell gas station because they're going to have more customers in walking distance of their business. So we just want to make sure that through that process, they are kept as whole as possible. So with that, and also I would say, let folks know, short-term rentals are not allowed in this SP. So with that, I seek your approval.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. It was properly seconded. You've heard that information from Ms. Benedict. Is there any further discussion on these two bills, 2023 and 2024? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, and Ms. Benedict, I might ask if the woman who was speaking with us earlier needs the translation services of Ms. Valdez, perhaps in the back of the room. That way, if anybody, Ms. Sepulveda is very kindly offering to join you. Thank you, Councilwoman Sepulveda. Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure she was accommodated. Thank you. Okay, we are moving on then to agenda item 26, BL 2024-225, sponsor Vo, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from R6A to RM20A in S zoning for property located at 92 Claiborne Street, approximately 130 feet north of Cannon Street. Bless you. 0.13 acres, all of which is described herein. Ms. Vo, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is there anyone here to speak in support of this bill? 2025, Ms. Vo's bill. If you are, please raise your hands if you're here in support. Okay, is there anyone here in opposition to this bill? If you are here in opposition, please raise your hand. Okay, last call on BL 2025. Anyone seeking to be recognized? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Vo, I declare the public hearing closed. Okay, and it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
Great, thank you. I would like to move to approval.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, Ms. Vo has moved approval on BL 2025. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no or abstaining? Okay, Ms. Vo, your bill has passed to second reading. Next is agenda item 27, BL 2024-226 is an ordinance, sponsor Harrell, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from AR2A to RM9 in S zoning for property located at 5932 Mount View Road, approximately 700 feet northeast of Murfreesboro Pike, 5.03 acres, and located in the Murfreesboro Pike Urban Design Overlay, all of which is described here in Mr. Harrell. It's to you, sir, on your bill.
I'd like to move forward with approval.
Well, would you like to open the public hearing, sir? It's okay. It's okay.
I would like to open public hearing.
Okay. I declare the public hearing open. Okay. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the bill? Please show by raise of hands. Okay. I see two gentlemen there. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to this bill? Please raise your hand if so. Okay, seeing no one indicating that they are in opposition to the gentleman wish to speak in favor. Okay, anyone else seeking to be recognized on this public hearing? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Harrell, I declare the public hearing on your bill closed, and it's back to you for a motion on the bill.
I would like to move with approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion on Mr. Harrell's bill? Seeing none, properly moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, your bill has passed second reading. Mr. Harrell, good job. Okay, agenda item 28, BL 2024-227, sponsors Huffman and Horton, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing 1.77 acres from AR2A to CS zoning and 0.07 acres from CS to AR2A on a portion of property located at 4,000 Andrew Jackson Parkway at the northwest corner of Andrew Jackson Parkway and Old Hickory Boulevard, 1.84 acres being rezoned of 13.06 total acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Horton, it is to you, sir, on Mr. Huffman's bill.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to move to suspend Rule 43.4 so that I may then defer to the May 7th public hearing.
Okay, I appreciate that. Is there an objection to the suspension of the rules? Okay, seeing none, the rules are suspended. So, Mr. Horton, it's back to you on a motion.
I move to defer to the May 7th public hearing.
Okay, is there a second? Properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on that deferral? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, BL 2024-227, sponsor Huffman, is deferred to the public hearing of May 7th. Moving on to agenda item 29 is an ordinance, BL 2024-228, sponsor Toombs, is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from RS 7.5 to RM 9A and S zoning for properties located at 2232, 2236, 2240, and 2244 Monticello Drive, approximately 334 feet southeast of Monticello Drive and Monticello Street, 0.8 acres, all of which is described herein. Ms. Toombs, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay, I declare the public hearing open. Is anyone here seeking to be recognized in favor of the bill? Anyone in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you, sirs. Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition to the bill? If so, please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no one in opposition to the bill, do the gentlemen in favor of the bill seek to be recognized to speak? Okay, Ms. Toombs, they are saying no. Last call on this. Okay, with that, I declare the public hearing closed, and it's back to you, Ms. Toombs, for a motion on your bill.
Move for approval.
Okay, Ms. Toombs has moved for approval. Do I hear a second? Okay, properly moved, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, Ms. Toombs, your bill passes second reading. Okay, our last item on our zoning public hearing is agenda item 30, BL 2024-229, sponsors Cortez and Gamble. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, by changing from R40 to RS40 zoning for various properties along Cloverland Drive, West Cloverland Park Drive, 112.76 acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Cortez, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. We would like to defer until the public hearing in the meeting on April 2nd.
Okay. There's a motion to defer to the public hearing of April 2nd, the first meeting of April. Is there a second? Okay, properly moved, properly seconded. Is there any discussion on that deferral? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, with that, your bill is deferred to the public hearing in April, Mr. Cortez. Okay, with that, colleagues, we have concluded our zoning public hearing. And so we now move on to agenda item H, section H, which is our consolidated consent agenda. Okay. All resolutions and second and third reading ordinances on this agenda are included on the consent agenda. If recommended for approval unanimously by all committees to which the item was referred. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. The item number, along with the resolution and ordinance number of the items on the consent agenda, will be read by me as slowly as fastly possible. Members of the council may remove any item from the consent agenda by request before the consent agenda is taken, okay? Or the consent agenda vote is taken. Okay, with that, okay, here are the resolutions proposed for consent, okay? Agenda item 31, RS 2024-266. Item 32, RS 2024-264. Agenda item 33, RS 2024-268. Agenda item 34, that's resolution 269. Agenda item 36, which is RS 2024-271. Agenda item 37, RS 2024-272. Agenda item 38, RS 2024-273. Agenda item 39, RS 2024-273. Okay, agenda item 39, and I am realizing, folks, I'm reading from this sheet and I'm going a little fast. Am I going a little fast, Margaret? A little fast. Okay, all righty. I know, members. I know you're, okay. So, Margaret, where were we, please? Our last? 39. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. All right. So, agenda item 39, RS 2024-274. Okay. Agenda item 40, resolution 2024-275. Agenda item 41, resolution 2024-276. Agenda item 42, resolution 2024-277. Agenda item 43, resolution 2024-278. Agenda item 44, resolution 2024-279. Agenda item 45, resolution 2024-280. Agenda item 46, resolution 2024-281. Agenda item 47, resolution 2024-282. Resolution 40, or rather agenda item 48, resolution 2024-283. Agenda item 50, resolution 2024-285. Agenda item 51, resolution 2024-286. Agenda item 52, resolution 2024-287. Agenda item 54, resolution 2024-289. Agenda item 55, resolution 2024-290. And then agenda item 56, resolution 2024-291. Okay. So now we are moving into second reading ordinances, also on the consolidated consent agenda. Okay. So first is agenda item 97, ordinance BL 2024-231. Agenda item 98, ordinance BL 2024-232. Agenda item 99, ordinance BL 2024-233. Agenda item 100, ordinance BL 2024-234. Agenda item 101, ordinance BL 2024-235. Agenda item 102, ordinance BL 2024-236. Agenda item 103, ordinance BL 2024-237. Agenda item 105, ordinance BL 2024-239. Agenda item 106, ordinance BL 2024-240. Agenda item 107, ordinance BL 2024-241. Agenda item 108, ordinance BL 2024-242. Agenda item 109, ordinance BL 2024-243. Agenda item 110, ordinance BL 2024-244. Agenda item 111, ordinance BL 2024-245. Agenda item 112, ordinance BL 2024-246. Agenda item 113, ordinance BL 2024-247. Agenda item 114, ordinance BL 2024-248. Agenda item 115, ordinance BL 2024-249. Agenda item 116, BL 2024-250. Agenda item 117, BL 2024-251. And agenda item 118, ordinance BL 2024-252. Okay, that concludes the items on second reading consent as part of our consolidated consent agenda. And then now we will move next to third reading ordinances that are also on consent as part of our consolidated agenda. And that begins with agenda item 119, ordinance BL 2023-118. And then agenda item 121, BL 2023-129. And then agenda item 122, ordinance BL 20, let's see, agenda item 122. Okay, I apologize. Yeah, I think we have a typo there. So it's ordinance BL 2024 171. Okay, yeah, sorry, we've got a kind of typo here. I'm sorry. So 119, colleagues, and 121 as well were BL 2024, okay? So all of these are bills filed in 2020, or what? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. It was just one error. Okay. So again, 119 and 121 are BLs 2023, 118 and 129. Those are on consent. And then now, agenda item 122, BL 2024 171 is also on consent. And then agenda item 123, BL 2024-180. And agenda item 124, ordinance BL 2024-189. Agenda item 125, ordinance BL 2024-190. Agenda item 126, ordinance BL 2024-191. Agenda item 127, ordinance BL 2024-192. Agenda item 128, BL 2024-193. Agenda item 129, ordinance BL 2024-194. Agenda item 130, ordinance BL 2024-195. Agenda item 131, ordinance BL 2024-196. Agenda item 132, ordinance BL 2024-197. Agenda item 133, ordinance BL 2024-198. Agenda item 134, ordinance BL 2024-199. Agenda item 135, ordinance BL 2024-200. Agenda item 136, ordinance BL 2024-201. Agenda item 137, ordinance BL 2024-202. Agenda item 138, ordinance BL 2024-203. Agenda item 139, ordinance BL 2024-204. Agenda item 140, BL 2024-205. Agenda item 141, ordinance BL 2024-206. Agenda item 142, ordinance BL 2024-207. Agenda item 143, ordinance BL 2024-208. Agenda item 144, ordinance BL 2024-209. And lastly, agenda item 145, ordinance BL 2024-210. 0. Okay, that concludes the reading of all the items on the consent agenda. Is there any item that needs to be removed from the consent agenda? If so, please get into the queue, colleagues. Okay. Mr. Bradford, you are recognized, sir.
Item 130 on third reading and item 54.
Okay, let me just make a note of that here in a second place. Okay, not on consent. I'm going to do that with the green pen. Okay, and I'm sorry, Mr. Bradford, you all said agenda item 54, correct, sir? Okay. Okay, also not on consent. Okay, Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to be marked as no on 137. So if we need to bump it, we could bump it. But if you want to just mark me as no and keep it on consent, if that's it's not allowed by rule, so I'll
Ms.
bump
Darby?
it.
Okay. Okay, we will need to move that from consent, no worries.
Thank you.
So item 137, on third reading, BL 2024. Is that correct? Okay. I apologize, 137? Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Porterfield. Okay, let's go back to 137. Not on consent. Okay, Ms. Vo, you are recognized, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. Item 56, withdraw.
Okay. Okay, yep. Thank you. 56 is off consent with intent to withdraw. Okay. Okay, Ms. Suara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Item number 39, please.
Okay, agenda item 39, which is RS 2024 274. Okay, so agenda item 39 is no longer on consent. Okay. All right. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized to remove an item from the consolidated consent agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will now move into our committee reports. Okay. Budget and Finance, Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized for your committee reports.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance Committee considered the following items and voted in favor: 13 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting for the following items: RS 2024-266, 267, 269, 271, 272, 273, 274, 275, 276, 277, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 85, and 86. Budget and Finance voted for RS 2024-287, 12 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting. For BL 2024-231, Budget and Finance voted 11 in favor, 0 against, and 1 not voting. And for items BL 2024-232, 233, and 237, we voted 13 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Ms. Darby, on the one with one person not voting, do we need to move that from consent? Hang on, Ms. Porterfield, let's wait and see about 231 with the one person not voting. I'm not sure
wondering about that.
by rule what we do there. Okay,
is
so
what
we're
I have.
BL
What do you have?
2024-231.
On 231, I had 11 in favor, 0 against, and 1 not voting. That's what I wrote down at committee.
Okay. All right, so that's fine. We will pull agenda item 97, 2024-231. That is a second reading ordinance, and that's going to be pulled from consent due to 1 not voting. Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Porterfield, for the report of budget and finance. Next, among our committee reports is Planning and Zoning Chair Gamble, but that is going to go to Vice Chair Harrell. You are recognized, sir.
The planning and zoning committee, for the item RS 2024-270, we voted to defer until April 2nd, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay, sir, was that item 275?
Oh, no, that was 270, I'm sorry.
Okay, I show that you have a report on RS
I do.
2024-275.
I do. We voted 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay,
My
11.
apologies.
No worries, no worries. 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions, okay? And then as well on your second reading consent, I show committee reports there as well.
Yes, for item BL 2024-232, there was 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes. For BL 2024-233, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay, and sir, if you would like, for purposes of your committee report, unless there's sort of changes in your vote count, you can say 11 and 0 and then kind of sequentially go through if that works for you.
Got it. 2024, 11 and 0.
Okay, so 234 is also 11 and 0?
230.
Are you going to have a string or a series of ones here that are 11 and 0 as you move through? I show you have quite a few bills here.
Yeah, I do actually. There were a couple that I had notes, but so for all of the bills that are on second reading, the votes are 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay, so that's all votes on second reading for the Planning and Zoning Committee. So that's 232, 233, 234, 235, 236, 237, 239, 240, 241, 242, 243, 244, 245, 246, 247, 248, 249, 250, 251, and 252. All 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Yes.
Okay. And then lastly, Mr. Harrell, Vice Chair, you have 2 third reading items that were proposed for the consent agenda. That's BL 20, well, per this, but it could be a misprint, 2023, 118 and 129.
So I have 118, 120, and 129. Well, actually, I'm sorry. 118 and 129. For 120, the vote changed.
Okay, I don't show 120 as being on our, it's not on consent. So this is just a report for 118 and 129, sir.
Okay, so for 118 and 129, they're both 11 in approval, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay, great. Okay, that concludes the report of the Planning and Zoning Committee. Thank you, Vice Chair. Okay, and so next, we will move to the report of the Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture Committee. I see Vice Chair Vo. Okay, Ms. Vo, you are recognized first for your resolutions and then for your second reading ordinances.
Great, thank you, Madam President. The Public Facilities Arts and Culture Committee considered items RS 2024-279, 280, 281, and 282. All were voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Great. And did you have a report on 283, or is that a vote count change at that juncture? I show RS 2024-283, unless, did we? That's also on consent. Do you have a report on 283?
I don't have, just that it, I don't have a report, just that it passed.
Okay, that's fine. I
okay.
would presume it was a similar vote. Okay, unless you have a note that there
Oh,
was.
sorry about that. I meant to add that.
That's okay. Okay, so we've got a report on 283 as well.
Yes.
Okay, and then next would be your resolutions, or rather your second reading items. You have 2 bills on second reading.
Yes. All bills on second reading, BL 2024-232 and 233, voted 7 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, great. Thank you, Vice Chair Vo. Okay, next for committee reports is Public Health and Safety Committee Chair Evans. Ms. Evans, you are recognized for your consolidated consent report. First on your resolutions, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Health and Safety considered RS 2024-267, 269, 276, 277, 278, 285, 286, and all, we had 7 in favor, 0 against.
Great.
For all of
Thank you.
those.
And then for your one item, please, on second reading.
Yes, we considered item BL 2024-231, and we also recommended approval, 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Thank you, Chair Evans. Okay. Next in committee reports is Ms. Sepulveda. Oh, I apologize. Mr. Prep-T, Vice Chair, has the committee report. Mr. Prep-T, you are recognized on the resolutions, please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Election Committee considered the following and voted in favor, 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for RS 2024-226, my apologies, 266.
No worries.
268, 290, and 291. And with that, I move the consent agenda.
Okay, actually, I know it says that on this piece of paper, but we're still going to need to get transportation. So no worries there. And then Mr. Prep-T on 2, okay, yep, that's removed from consent. Got it. Okay, sorry we gave you the wrong prompt there. Thank you, Vice Chair, for your report. Okay, Councilman Parker, you are recognized. You do not have resolutions, hence that little hiccup there. But you do have quite a few second reading ordinances to report on, sir. Go ahead for your committee report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Transportation and Infrastructure considered on second reading BL 2024-232 through 237, as well as bills 239 through 252, and we recommended approval of all of those, 11 in favor, 0 against. And with all committee reports in, I will move the consolidated consent agenda.
Thank you, Chair Parker. Good job. Okay, is there any discussion on the consolidated consent agenda? Mr. Bradford, you're seeking to be recognized. Go ahead, sir.
Remove 131, please.
Okay, okay. And can you, so is that agenda item 131, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, that's third reading. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, Mr. Parker, with agenda item 131 removed just for clarity's sake, would you please make another motion for the consolidated consent agenda? Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to turn off your mic. Go ahead, sir.
I will make a revised motion for the consolidated consent agenda absent item 131.
Okay. And all the other items that were removed, properly seconded. Any discussion, any additional? Nope, on the consolidated consent agenda. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any voting no or abstaining? Oh, okay, you have passed all items on the consolidated consent agenda. And now we will return to resolutions that are not on consent. So we're going back to section I in our agenda for items that were pulled from that consolidated consent agenda. The first among them is agenda item 35, RS 2024-270, sponsor Coupon. Mr. Coupon, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe I would like committee reports first.
Okay, yes, sir, that is correct. And so for the committee reports, Ms. Porterfield, for the report of Budget and Finance, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance consider RS 2024-270 and voted for a 2-meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 0 against, 1 not voting.
Okay, so that's a 2-meeting deferral, which would be to the meeting of April 2nd. Okay, thank you, Ms. Porterfield. There are also committee reports next from Planning and Zoning. I am maxing out my queue here. Okay, Mr. Harrell, Vice Chair Harrell, you're recognized for the committee report on 270. I'm sorry, sir. Hang on. I apologize. Go ahead.
The Planning Committee considered RS 2024-270. Deferred was 2 meetings till April 2nd, 11 in favor, 0 against, 0
Okay,
votes.
that's great. Mr. Parker, you're recognized for Transportation Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We considered 270 and at the sponsor's request recommended a deferral to April 2nd, 10 voting in favor, 0 against, and 1 member not voting.
Okay, that's fine. Good to know. All right. So, Mr. Coupon, with your committee reports in, it is back to you, sir, for a motion on your bill.
I would like to move for a 2-meeting deferral to April 2nd with a brief comment.
Good. Okay, properly seconded. Go ahead, sir.
So welcome to the East Bank legislation. So we're deferring this 2 meetings to line up with a potential 3rd reading of the East Bank Master Development Agreement. I've gotten a handful of questions as to why that deferral. So the deferral is just to line it up with the bill, which is a 3-reading bill. And also to share that the intention is going to be to defer on 2nd reading the East Bank Master Development Agreement to give us a little bit more time to unpack it and talk about it. So the goal is to pass it tonight on 1st reading, but then defer the 2nd reading so that we've got a little bit more time. So just want to make sure the public kind of knows what's going on and knows that we'll have a few weeks of opportunity to discuss and engage our communities. And again, to make sure that the public has a chance to digest this big piece of legislation and make sure it's all good. So with that, I will continue my motion for a 2-meeting deferral.
Okay, it's properly moved and properly seconded. You've heard the reason for the deferral. Is anyone seeking to be recognized on the motion to defer to April 2nd? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the deferral, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, that resolution, Mr. Coupon, is deferred to, okay, Ms. Evans-Siegel, are you? Okay, yes. Mr. Clerk, will you please record Ms. Evans-Siegel as an abstention on agenda item 35, please, sir? Okay. All right, the next item is agenda item 39, resolution 2024-274, sponsors Suara, Sepulveda, Johnston, Gamble, Porterfield, Bradford, Welsh, Allen, and Benedict. This is a resolution appropriating $2,395,322 in American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds from Fund Number 30216 to provide legal representation to low and moderate income Davidson County renters to defend against landlord eviction. Councilwoman Suara, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Okay, there is a committee report from the Budget and Finance Committee. Chair Porterfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance consider item RS 2024-274, voted 13 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voted.
Okay, with that committee report in, Ms. Suara, it's back to you on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment, please.
And do I hear a second? Okay, go ahead, please, ma'am.
All right, thanks, everyone. You should have on your desk a small summary of what's been going on with the ERTC. This is a program that we spent about $3 million to pilot about 2 years ago. And from what you can see, the program has helped over 1,500 Nashvillians, distributed over 68,000 brochures, and saved us and saved our clients and our residents about $4.5 million. So I wanted to stand for two reasons. Number one, to thank all the partners, Legal Aid Connection, Hispanic Bar, AMAC, American Muslim Advisory Council, PATH, and NCRC that are helping and make this possible. The second reason why I wanted to stand also is that 2 years ago when we started the pilot, this is supposed to be a program that needs attorney, and we had legal aid. At the time, Hispanic Bar was not ready to take this on as a fiscal agent, so Connection stepped in to be able to help them do that. 2 years later, I'm so glad that we now have the opportunity to have some capacity building for Hispanic Bar. And so Connection is no longer that fiscal agent. So the contract that we're going to have is between Hispanic Bar and the legal aid because they are the legal organization. It was very important for me to make sure that that is stated so that people are not wondering why is Connection not in need anymore. Connection was very gracious to step in. They did a wonderful job. We want to acknowledge that. There was nothing wrong over there, but since this is a legal program, we want the organization leading it to be organizations that have lawyers, and then all other organizations will be supported. So I want to thank Connection and thank everybody that's worked on this. This is an amazing program. It's a shame that we're here, but here's where we are. And we continue to know that housing is a problem. People are losing housing. We'll keep building more, but at least for the moment, we can continue to help people stay in their home and maintain their dignity. So with that, I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. There is a motion properly seconded, and you've heard the explanation. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized on this resolution? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Okay. Oh, Ms. Evans? Oh, I apologize. I'm sorry. I looked over there and I didn't see it. Okay, Ms. Evans, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you. And just a spontaneous thought that came to mind as we were talking or learning about this and, of course, discussing it, and I'm totally in support, but it would be nice to see some kind of connection all the way through to like Metro Action Commission and data from them. And so maybe that's something that we could talk through with all the partners to really see how has this impacted eviction prevention and those kinds of things. So that's all I wanted to add is because we've been talking about Metro Action coming to public health and safety. And so it'd be a nice like story arc to be able to make that connection all the way through. And so that's all I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Evans. I appreciate you. And just in abundance of caution, colleagues, we've got a motion to approve, properly seconded. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Any voting no or abstaining? Okay, you adopt this resolution, and we move next to, agenda item 49, resolution 2024-284, sponsor Porterfield, is a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Department of Law to compromise and settle the claims of Tracy Turner against the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County in the amount of $105,000, with $97,000 to be paid from the Judgment and Losses Fund and $8,000 in back pay to be paid from the Nashville Fire Department's operating budget. Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget, and I'm going to move for approval with the committee reports.
Correct.
Budget and Finance had a robust conversation and considered RS 2024-284, and the motion failed with 0 voting in favor, 11 voting against the legislation, and 1 person not voting.
Okay, so the committee report from Budget and Finance for this is on the motion to approve. There were 0 in favor, 11 against, and 1 abstaining?
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Okay. Okay, and so with that committee report in, it's back to you for a motion on your bill.
It is a motion for, it's a motion for approval so
Okay.
that the body can discuss it and
I
vote
appreciate
appropriately.
it. Okay, so we've got a motion properly seconded. We've heard the committee report, so that is before us now, and we are on discussion. And I'll go in order of the queue. Mr. Prep T, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Colleagues, I rise to speak in opposition of this resolution and this settlement. And I ask every member to join me in my opposition to this resolution. My opposition is based in legal and constitutional principles. Like every member of this body, I took an oath to uphold our Constitution. I've often spoken in front of this body about my concerns over governmental actions that impede First Amendment protected activities. However, as a civil rights attorney, I have no such concerns in this current instance. The Sixth Circuit has held that in these instances, the relevant inquiry is, quote, whether the statement A, impairs harmony among coworkers, B, has a detrimental impact on the close working relationship for which personal loyalty and confidence are necessary, C, impedes the performance of the speaker's duties, or interferes with the regular operation of the enterprise, or D, undermines the mission of the employer. Tracy Turner's statements have had this exact effect. How can his fellow Black firefighters trust that he will have their backs when charging into a blazing building when he refers to Black citizens and those who call for reform as animals and thugs? How can our Black citizens trust that he would faithfully fulfill his duties to provide services and care when he views them as animals? How can our community trust our institutions when those who occupy them spew racially motivated vitriol? The facts and the law demand that we reject this settlement. For too long in our nation, our fire departments played a significant role in the enforcement of Jim Crow laws and perpetuating political violence against population of colors. Whether it be the purposeful leaving of people of color to die in burning buildings, or turning high-pressured water hoses against those protesting. Actions that perpetuate this legacy has no place in our fire department. Now, let me be 100% clear. The men and women of Nashville's fire department perform their duties with honor and bravery. But the facts of this case fly in the face of the fundamental principles under which NFD operate. And it is for those reasons, Madam Vice Mayor, that I ask this body to vote down this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Prep T. Councilman Spain, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. Longtime listener, first-time caller. But I voted against this resolution in Budget Committee yesterday, and I plan to vote against it again tonight, and I just wanted to explain why. I have nothing but respect for the men and women of Local 140 and appreciate everything that they do to keep our community safe. So first, I just wanted to address one of the concerns that was mentioned during the public comment period. To me, there's not much comparison between this case and the case of Mr. Black, simply because in the previous case, his comments were directed at this body. And that's one thing. But in the case of Captain Turner, his comments were directed towards the very public that he is supposed to protect and serve. And to me, that makes this a very different instance. And then I also want to mention, and I read this in Budget Committee yesterday, and I'll briefly mention it again, but this is Judge Richardson's ruling from Metro's motion for summary judgment, and he's referring to the Pickering balancing test, which is sort of a central issue in this case that weighs the employee's interests versus the government's interests. And he says the court would be remiss if it did not comment on the inherently subjective nature of this balancing test and the resulting reality that its outcome in a particular case well may be judge-specific. In many cases, different judges reasonably could reach opposite conclusions as to the outcome of that balancing test. So to me, that says, okay, Judge Richardson has ruled against us on a motion for summary judgment. For that reason, it's reasonable to expect that he may rule against us again at the trial level. Let's see what the Sixth Circuit has to say about it, because they may very well see it differently. So for those reasons, I plan to vote against this, and I hope my colleagues will as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spain. Councilman Cortez, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. My concern with settling now is it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. It leaves a lot of ambiguity for our department leaders and for Metro employees. I believe our department leaders should be able to set a standard for the type of behavior that they expect to get the best out of their team. And I also think employees should understand the guardrails of where they're expected to operate. And I feel if we settle this now, we're not going to do our job and help set those guardrails. And I think letting this case continue will help department leaders, help employees understand what the guidelines of this playing field are and what is appropriate and what is not. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. Councilwoman Joy Kimbrough, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to address, first of all, Mr. Moore out of an abundance of respect. I know him. I would call him a friend. So I do want to respond to what he said.
I appreciate that, but if you could continue just
That's
to address
fine.
me, that'd be great. Thank you.
So first, I would like to say that I have not personally agreed with every settlement with Metro Legal and have voted against it. So I will say that first and foremost about myself. I try to look at each one on its own merits. So I will say that. Second, his question was regarding the difference between Mr. Black and this, and I think my colleague addressed it, at least one of them addressed it. And I agree with what they said, or he said, but I would also like to say there is a difference. Mr. Turner made specific statements about a protected class, whether it be based on race, sex, a sexual orientation, handicap. He addressed or made a statement regarding a protected class. Mr. Black made a statement regarding a government body. You should analyze the government. You may have to criticize the government. That's much different. So that's the difference there. But I also believe, and I was also on the committee that voted this down, and I spoke on committee, but I think we should also support our fire chief, who I believe got it right. And let me tell you what he said, and I agree 100%. He said, these fake Facebook posts do not represent the core values of our department. Anything that calls into question the ability of our department to serve everyone without prejudice or bias will be addressed. And when needed, discipline will be administered. We have the utmost respect for every person we serve without regard to their sex, race, ethnicity, gender, identity, religious beliefs, or sexual orientation. And I wholeheartedly agree. There was also one other difference I'd like to mention, I almost forgot. And I think we talked about it in committee. This was not his first time. This was not this captain's first time. So I just wanted to put that out, and I hope that properly responds to Mr. Moore's question.
Thank you, Ms. Kimbrough. Councilman Cash, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chair. I intend to vote against the resolution as well. Just a couple of things. I really appreciate Councilmember Prepteet and Councilmember Spain's comments, especially the legal arguments that they made in referring to precedent in the courts. It wasn't, a couple of years ago that there was another case relating to a firefighter that had been disciplined, And I know at that time, some of us on this body had some concerns about the discipline. I guess I would just like to ask Director Dietz if, and this is the second one that we've had in a couple of years, I just want to ask Director Dietz if he and Metro Legal feel confident in the policy that we have that, or that the fire department has about social media, because this is a second one we've asked to settle.
Legal Department, Ms. Bustle, you're recognized.
Mr. Dietz passed the mic to me. I hope that's okay. Yes, we do have confidence in the policy. Anytime cases like this pop up, we certainly take a good hard look at what the individual department's policies are. And I would say this is a very subjective test, as the court has said and as we have said. Our policies and rules, and even the departmental policies and rules, provide for sufficient discretion within the framework that could apply under that test. And so departments are generally doing a really great job of reaching out and asking for advice in advance of these hard decisions, because it is a tough test to apply. But when we have looked at the policies, the ones that we felt like probably had some language that was concerning, we have recommended changes to those. And there have been changes made to some social media policies over the last, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years. But we do feel good about where the policies are at this time. And even the civil service rules, I think, again, provide sufficient flexibility for department heads to stay within the confines of the law.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. Bustle. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cash, as well. Councilman Coopin, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. And I rise again to vote no on this resolution. And I appreciate Mr. Yates and Mr. Moore coming out and have, again, the utmost respect for the firefighters in our community and the points that were shared. But what we have before us is a case of free speech and public trust. And as we all know, we've got the right to free speech in our country, and that's a sacred right. But at the same time, the public has a reasonable expectation that their government has their back and is there to protect and support them. And in my opinion, in this case, Mr. Turner's social media conduct was inappropriate, violating policy and eroding the public trust in the fire department. And it's not becoming of a leader in our community. And yesterday at committee, we heard from our legal director that this case might go up the chain and potentially even up to the Supreme Court as cases like this are rising up. And this is a really important conversation, I think, not just locally in our municipality, but in our state and our country, to make sure that we understand that we have the right to speak, we have the right to speech, but we also have the duty and the obligation to be careful with that speech and to make sure we understand what that speech does to people that are listening to it and might be impacted by it. So again, I believe that free speech is really important, but in this case, I think that he has crossed over the line from free speech to lack of public trust, as my colleagues have so eloquently put it. And so I urge my colleagues to vote against this resolution and vote against this settlement. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Benton, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to hear from legal because I saw a letter of endorsement from legal to settle this. And I wondered if maybe they had changed their mind at this point with, everything that's come out and all the discussion. I just want to confirm that they still feel the same way.
Okay. Legal Department, Ms. Bustle, will you take that? Or Mr. Dietz? Okay. Legal Director Dietz, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, first of all, to all the members for the discussion last night in committee. And tonight, I want to thank you for focusing on the key issue here, which is not specifically the content of the speech, but the impact that it had on the ability of Metro to give assurance to all citizens that they would be treated fairly and that they would get adequate treatment from the Nashville Fire Department, because that was the concern that Chief Swan had. We believed the discipline was both appropriate and lawful. The judge disagreed. So let me explain why we're here tonight. We took our arguments to the court. We lost. And there's very little that will change before the trial and the final verdict in this case. So we are looking at taking this case to the Court of Appeals in the Sixth Circuit in Cincinnati and asking them to reverse Judge Richardson. Statistically, the reversal rate is very low. So we're fighting uphill there. And so what we decided to do at this juncture, having fought the fight, having defended the policy, having defended Chief Swan's discipline, we decided to bring this to this council because we believe, based on where we are in the case right now, having lost on summary judgment with looking at losing at trial and the prospect of an appeal, which is uncertain, we believe this settlement is definitely within the range of reasonableness. And so we are supporting it to this council to consider. And we decided that in view of the fact that we believe this settlement was in a range of reasonableness, we did not believe it was our responsibility at Metro Legal to prevent this body from voting on it. So we are submitting it to this body to consider. If we lose, we will end up paying 3 or maybe 4 times as much money at the end of the case if we lose. But if this body rejects this resolution, we will gladly continue the litigation and do our very best to turn the case around in our favor. Did that answer your question?
I think so. I guess really what we're deciding tonight is if we want to take that chance on principle.
Mr. Benton, you can continue to wrap up just since Mr. Dietz had an extended explanation.
Sure.
But an excellent explanation, well needed.
Yes, it
so
was,
please.
Yeah, and I didn't have a whole lot to add to that. And I appreciate your candor. And I think I understand better what the situation is right now. We're having to appeal. So basically, we're deciding whether we're standing on our principles here and taking that chance.
Well,
Mr. Dietz, you're recognized.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Vice
again,
Mayor.
you address me, Mr. Benton, not Mr. Dietz. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Vice Mayor. I would say that it's a risk analysis. Are you willing to take the risk that we go to the Court of Appeals? Well, we go back to the trial court and then we go to the Court of Appeals. And do you want to take that risk? And do you believe that this is a case worth fighting for? Or do you want to minimize the risk and accept a settlement that is in what we believe to be the range of reasonableness, based again on where we are? As Judge Richardson pointed out and was quoted, these cases are very subjective, which means that if we had a different judge, we might have gotten a different result. And Judge Richardson flatly stated that in his opinion. But we are where we are. We're facing an uphill battle. This is a reasonable settlement based on where we are now. If the council says no, we will continue to litigate. If the council votes yes, we will wrap up this settlement and close the case.
Thank you, Mr. Dietz. Mr. Cortez, I see you are in the queue again. You spoke very concisely last time, so I'm happy to recognize you again. That said, Ms. Gadd has not yet spoken. She does not seek to be recognized. Okay. Ms. Lee, you have not yet spoken on the motion. So I'm going out of order, colleagues, because the people in the queue have already spoken, but I will still acknowledge you again. But I want to first acknowledge Ms. Lee, who's not yet spoken. Ms. Lee, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be quick. With all of the opinions that are given, it's my opinion that what we are really voting on is our integrity. What do we believe is right? As a body, we have taken multiple stands to stand for what we thought was right to protect people, not a certain color people, not a certain religion people, not a certain anything people, but just people, because that's the right thing to do. So I understand, I guess, more math-minded folks than I am will try to look to see what the funds are. But I think the point is we need to do the right thing. We need to do what's right, and we need to stand together. I do not want people that I am representing to say racist statements against any citizen in Nashville. So in my opinion, that's what the issue is that we're looking at. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, I do not see anyone else new to the debate seeking to be recognized. So Mr. Cortez, I will go back to you, sir, briefly. Go ahead. Oh, I apologize. Whoop, I clicked you on this board, not that board. Sorry about that. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to state, I want to get this on record from legal, so anyone watching, anyone in the audience understands, government employees are held to a higher standard when it comes to First Amendment rights than just a normal citizen. That is correct?
So, Mr. Cortez, yep, you're addressing that to me. And Mr. Dietz, you are recognized, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let me state it a different way. A private citizen has the full panoply of First Amendment rights. A government employee has First Amendment rights, but those rights are balanced against the rights of the government. And as a government employee, he is expected not to do anything, especially as identified as a Metro employee, that jeopardizes Metro's reputation in the community and gives rise to significant concerns in the community about whether Metro can adequately provide service to them. So I view it more as a balancing test for a private citizen. That balancing test isn't there. The limit really is the First Amendment goes all the way to the point where you are making a credible threat of imminent violence. If you do that, you're not protected. But short of that, you have the full range of protections. So I hope that answered your question.
It does, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that anyone listening knew that that was where we were basing this conversation off of.
I appreciate that, Mr. Cortez. Mr. Prepti, back to you, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to get a little bit of clarification as to the procedural posture of this case. It is my understanding that within the Middle District Court that Metro filed a motion for summary judgment, and that motion for summary judgment was denied. And there are various standards for a denial of summary judgment, whether or not there's a dispute of material facts or whether or not you are likely to win at trial. But a denial of summary judgment does not guarantee that you will lose at trial. Is my understanding of that case posture correct?
Ms. Bussell, you're recognized to answer that question, please.
The posture that you've described is correct. We have a ruling at summary judgment. You are also correct that generally speaking, a ruling at summary judgment doesn't mean that you will lose at trial. We've had lots of summary judgment denials that later resulted in favorable verdicts for the government or government employees that we were defending. This case is unique, however, because, well, when you draft a summary judgment, you are putting sort of your best foot forward. And when we drafted our summary judgment, we submitted declarations from witnesses. We had lots of employees that were that gave depositions in this case. Jamie Summers, who's the HR director for the fire department, gave a deposition. Chief Swan gave a deposition. Numerous high-level officials gave depositions. And in the combination of that deposition testimony and declaration testimony really told our whole story. So I just want to be candid with the council that there's really not a whole lot to say other than what we said in that summary judgment motion. So, we've got to ask ourselves, are there any factual disputes at all that we need to try? Because what will happen is we submit, if there are factual disputes, if there are things that happened that the parties disagree about, then a jury will have to resolve those factual disputes. But once those disputes are resolved through a verdict form, then the judge has to perform that same balancing of interests that he performed at the summary judgment level. So because we've already essentially put on our whole case through our filings, we just aren't terribly optimistic that the outcome is going to be different at the trial.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Prepti?
That does, and thank you, colleagues, for tolerating my civil procedure mini debate.
That's okay, Mr. Prepti. We appreciate the clarification. Mr. Cash, are you still seeking to be recognized, sir? Okay, all good. Okay, seeing no one else in the queue, okay, Ms. Ellis.
Just real quick, I wanted to clarify. So our,
Address.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know if Ms. Bussell and Mr. Dietz are in alignment with this resolution.
Okay, I will put that to Ms. Bussell. Would you like to answer that?
Are the both of you on the same page in putting forth this settlement and the letter that was submitted, Vice Mayor, to councilman?
I'll allow it, Ms. Bussell. I mean, I would presume you are of a similar mind, but please go ahead.
I am always in alignment with Director Dietz. And I don't know what letter you're talking about, but certainly what we submitted to the council for consideration by the council, we are certainly, we back that. We are in favor of that if this council wants to approve it. We felt very strongly that you should have the opportunity to take a look at it.
Thank you. Okay. All right. We are back to the sponsor, Ms. Porterfield. Is there anything else you are wishing to say relative to the discussion or the motion that has been made thus far? So we're going to move to a vote. Okay. I think we need to go on the board. Okay. And so with that, Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the machines. There is a motion to approve or adopt this resolution. Okay, Mr. Clerk tells me all the votes are in. So with that, please close the machine, Mr. Clerk, and show the vote. The resolution fails. 0 members of this body voting yes, 31 voting no, and 3 members abstaining. Okay. All right, colleagues, next we move on to agenda item 53. RS 2024-288, sponsors Gamble, Johnston, Druffel, Weiner, Spain, Nash, Stiles, Allen, Hancock, Webb, Ellis, Benton, Horton, Taylor, Coopin, Huffman, Evans, Siegel, Benedict, and Vo as of 2:30 this afternoon. So, okay, let's see. I will read the resolution caption, and then I believe, Mr. Druffel, I'm going to be coming to you potentially because I do not see Ms. Gamble or Ms. Johnston here. A resolution requesting the Metropolitan Planning Department, or is Vice Chair Harrell on here? To whom am I going to be going? Okay, we'll figure that out in just a second. Margaret be noodling on that. A resolution requesting the Metropolitan Planning Department, Metropolitan Department of Codes and Building Safety, Historic Preservation Offices, Metro Water Services, and Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure to conduct the necessary technical studies as determined by the departments to provide a comprehensive analysis of recommended changes to the Metropolitan Code of Laws that would increase allowable density in Nashville and Davidson County and make recommendations regarding land use policy which incorporates affordable and workforce housing strategies that can be supported by existing and planned infrastructure. As I understand, this is actually just, is this deferred by rule? Okay. Okay, Mr. Druffel, would you please, sir, as the next closest sponsor, inquire for the committee reports, please, sir? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Druffel. There you go, sir. Go ahead. If you would ask for committee reports, please, sir.
Yeah, thanks. Took the words right out of my mouth. Committee reports, please.
Okay, Vice Chair Harrell for the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee, please. This is on Ms. Gamble's resolution. Go ahead, sir.
So planning and zoning, consider RS 2024-288. We voted 12 in approval of a defer of one meeting.
Okay, 12 in favor of a one meeting deferral. Okay.
And there were 0 no votes, 0 abstentions.
Okay, got it. Next is the Government Operations and Regulations Committee. Chair Bradford, go ahead, sir, for your committee report.
Government Ops, we considered ours 2024-288, and we voted 8 in favor, none against for a 1-meeting deferral.
Okay. And next, Chair Parker for Transportation and Infrastructure.
Transportation and Infrastructure considered 288, recommended a 1-meeting deferral, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, with those committee reports all in, recommending a deferral, then that is deferred by rule. That is Rule 8. Thank you, Mr. Duffel. Okay. So that resolution will be before us again at next meeting. Okay, next on our agenda is item 54, RS 2024-289. Let's see. Sponsors Bradford, Huffman, Spain, Rutherford, Welsh, Gadd, Porterfield, and Cortez. This is a resolution, typo, requesting the Nashville International Airport to preserve the historic Colmere Manor, home to Monell's at the Manor. Mr. Bradford, Chair, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Okay, I'm going then to Mr. Prepty, or is it Ms. Sepulveda who has the committee report? Mr. Prepty, you have the committee reports for rules, confirmations, and public elections this evening. This is Resolution 289 regarding Colmere Manor and the airport, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee considered RS 2024-289 and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, with that committee report in, it's back to you, Mr. Bradford, for a motion.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment.
Okay, that's great. Is there a second? Okay, it's properly before us. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I'm bringing this before us to get support from the body on something that's been happening in our city for decades, and that is losing parts of our city's past, parts of our cultural heritage due to progress and growth that is being left unchecked. As we all know, the airport is growing, and that growth is now negatively impacting not just those who live in my community, but people who own businesses in my community. And it's also impacting the cultural past of our city. There's many people in this city who remember when the New Orleans Seafood House that used to be in Colmere Club would have special events, when the Colmere Club would hold their special Easter events, all the weddings that have occurred since Monell's has been in this place, and all the people who have had family memories. So we're being threatened with losing a part of our city's soul, part of our city's character. And so I'm asking my colleagues to support this resolution so that we can stand as a body and and strongly urge BNA to leave the manor alone, to give more time so we can find a solution to protect this piece of our city's cultural history. And to that end, I am inviting everybody in District 13 who are in the city, everybody in this room who would like to show their support. Next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., I'm inviting everybody to come out and have a family dinner and show our support for Monell's. And with that, I would like to invoke, I believe it's Rule 12.3, the Murphy Doctrine to the council rules. So all those voting in favor are added as sponsors.
Okay, so you are then amending your motion. So it is a motion to approve, including Rule 12.3. That means that all in favor will be recorded or signed on as co-sponsors. Is there a second for that amended motion? Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Okay, so that's for additional discussion. Councilwoman Porterfield, you are recognized for discussion.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I stand in full support of the resolution. I know that myself, my family, and many others have had very special moments at Monell's and have enjoyed the delicious food as well as the delicious environment. But I did have a question for Director Darby.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question for Director Darby.
I apologize.
No
Yeah.
worries, no worries. Do we, as a body, have any power outside of a resolution requesting that the airport preserve the building? Is there anything else that we as a body can do to support the building? Do we have any type of jurisdiction here? Again, I stand in support of the resolution. I want the resolution to pass. Just also looking for additional ways to support.
Ms. Darby, you're recognized.
This resolution is a non-binding requesting resolution. The airport authority owns their own property and has the ability to do with it, to make their own decisions about the property that they own and how they're going to expand or develop.
Thank you. And the airport authority does not report to the Metro Council, so we can simply make a suggestion, but that's the extent of it.
That's correct.
Yeah, Ms. Darby?
I'm sorry, that is correct.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. I still ask my colleagues to support. Thank you.
Okay. Pro Tem Suara, you're recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I do rise in support of the bill as well, but I also want to make sure that I thank Councilmember Bradford for having a community birthday party for Jeff Gregg and myself on March 13th.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else seeking discussion on this matter? Okay. Colleagues, I think we will try this by voice first, but if there are no's, that's okay, and then we'll go on the board, okay? So this has been properly moved, properly seconded, with the addition of Rule 12.3, meaning all voting in the affirmative will be assigned as co-sponsors. All in favor, please say aye. Okay, any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you would please record Ms. Lee as an abstention. Okay, you adopt this resolution. Okay, next on our agenda, on our resolutions, last among them is agenda item 56, RS 2024-291, a resolution expressing support to the Tennessee General Assembly for the House Bill 0468, Senate Bill 1050, which would provide increased revenue options for creating and preserving affordable housing in Nashville. Ms. Vo, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. Withdraw.
Okay, the bill is withdrawn. Thank you. Okay, that concludes our resolutions. And so now we move on to bills on introduction and first reading. Generally, without objection, all items on first reading may be voted on at the same time. But I understand we've got some that are going to be pulled. So if you would please join the queue if you need to pull some items from first reading consideration, please. And I will recognize you to let me know what bills those are. Okay, Mr. Parker, you are recognized to remove an item from first reading consent, or more than one item.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to remove item 59, that's BL 2024-253.
Okay, that is so done. And then Mr. Eastlick, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to take off item 57, 2023-132.
Thank you, sir. It will be removed from first reading or the collective vote, right? It's still on first reading, but it's not going to be taken up in combination with other votes. Mr. Horton?
I'm sorry, did the other council member just remove item 57?
Yes, Mr. Eastlick removed 57.
Oh, wait,
from
I'm sorry, I meant 58. I'm sorry, I'm removing 58. Sorry,
Okay, all right. Agenda item 58, BL 2024-188, will also be removed from the consolidated vote on first reading. Is there anyone else seeking to be recognized to remove an item from first reading? Okay, so let's see if I could please have a motion, Mr. Parker, I appreciate you, to pass all bills on introduction and first reading with the exception of agenda items 57, 58, and 59. Oh, sorry, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Parker.
Move to approve all items on first reading except BL 2024-253, 188, and 132 as a consent agenda.
Okay, 132, 188, and 253. Okay, you've heard the motion of Mr. Parker. Is it properly seconded? Yep, all in favor? Okay, all right, so you have adopted all those bills on introduction and first reading. And then now we will go back to the items that were removed from the consolidated vote consideration. And the first among them is Agenda Item 57, sponsor Eastlick. BL 2023-132 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by changing from CS to MUNANS zoning for property located at 99 Bridgeway Avenue, south of Bridgeway Avenue and east of Rayon Drive, 0.46 acres, all of which is described herein. Mr. Eastlick, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to put forward a substitute with a brief comment.
Okay, let's first get the bill before us, please, sir. So if you would move approval of your bill
I
first.
move the bill approval forward with a substitute.
Okay, first you're moving just approval of the bill. Is that seconded? Okay, so it's properly before us. Now we can go to your substitute.
Thank you. I'd like to offer a substitute with a short comment.
Go ahead, sir.
We had a community meeting about this. There was concern about the residential on Bridgeway, so the owner of the property is going to split it into two pieces, making one part on Rayon and returning that to the underlying code, and then leaving the other side commercial. So everybody gets what they want out of it.
Okay, you have heard the explanation of Mr. Eastlick for his substitute. Mr. Eastlick, are you moving your substitute?
I do move the substitution.
Okay, properly moved and properly seconded. Let's see, is there any discussion on Mr. Eastlick's substitute? Any discussion or questions? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the substitute, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, so Mr. Eastlick, it's back to you, sir, on your bill as substituted. Okay, so now you need a motion on that, please.
Okay, I'd like a motion for approval of the bill substituted.
Okay, I hear a second. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Up. Yep. Any discussion on the first reading bill as substituted? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Any voting no, any abstaining? Okay, this has passed first reading as substituted, Mr. Eastlick. Okay, next is Agenda Item 58, BL 2024-188. It sponsors Horton, Evan Siegel, Parker, Vo, Benedict, Huffman, Welsh, Sepulveda, Coupin, Bradford, and Spain. It is an ordinance amending Section 17.12.020 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations to eliminate minimum lot areas for multifamily, mobile homes, and non-residential uses in RM, residential multifamily zoning districts. Mr. Horton, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I'd like to move for an indefinite deferral with a brief explanation.
Okay, there's a motion for an indefinite deferral, seconded. Go ahead, sir, with your explanation.
What this bill does is eliminate minimum lot areas for multifamily housing with the overall goal of providing communities and district council members more flexibility to fit multifamily housing where it makes the most sense for them. Received some concerns from other council members and members of the public as to what effects, if any, this might have on stormwater. Fortunately for timing, the planning department is in the middle of a study that's ongoing. They've just completed the first part and are conducting the second part currently. The purpose of this deferral is to allow that study to complete and allow district council member, the rest of the council, to have full information when casting their votes for it. The reason it's indefinite is because while we're hopeful the study will be concluded in the coming months, we don't know exactly when, so the indefinite deferral provides us the flexibility to wait for the conclusion of that study.
Okay, I appreciate that. You have heard an explanation of the deferral, the indefinite deferral. It was properly moved and properly seconded. Is there any discussion on Mr. Horton's motion to defer this bill indefinitely off of first reading? Okay, seeing none for discussion, all those in favor of the indefinite deferral, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, this bill is indefinitely deferred. Okay, next on first reading is Agenda Item 59, BL 2024-253, sponsor Parker, is an ordinance to amend Title 6, Chapter 75 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws regarding renewal of pedicab and pedal carriage certificates for public necessity and convenience permits. Councilman Parker, Chair Parker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Withdraw.
Okay, the bill is withdrawn. That was easy. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Okay, okay, we're moving on then. That concludes first reading. Okay, and so now we are on bills on second reading that were not on consent. And first among those is Agenda Item 96, BL 2024-230, sponsor Porterfield and Evans. This is an ordinance amending the Metropolitan Code of Laws, Section 12.72.020, with respect to the establishment of administrative fees charged at the Metropolitan Government's tow-in lot. Sponsor Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance, consider Bill 2024-230. I'm so sorry. There was an amendment that we added to the bill.
Right, you can speak to the amendment in the context of your committee report. Go ahead and share that, sure.
Okay, thank you. We passed the amendment, 12 in favor, 1 against, and 0 not voting, and the bill as not voting. And then the bill as amended was 10 in favor, 1 against, and 0 not voting.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's continue through our committee reports. Also referred to Public Health and Safety, Chair Evans. Your report, please.
Thank you. We considered this item and voted 6 in favor, 1 against on the amendment, and then 6 in favor, 1 against on the bill as amended.
Okay, thank you, Chair Evans. Okay, so it is now then back to you, Ms. Porterfield, for an initial motion to get the bill before us, please, ma'am.
I would like to move for approval.
Okay.
And then I would like to move the amendment.
Understood. So Ms. Porterfield has moved approval. Is there a second? Okay, so the bill is before us, and now you may move your amendment.
I would like to move the amendment with a brief explanation.
Go ahead, please, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor. The amendment, the only thing that the amendment adds is adding the line as approved by the Finance Director. This legislation is basically saying that the Chief of Police can establish the fees for the storage fees for the tow-in lot. And what the amendment does is just saying that it also has to be approved by the Finance Director. And I will save the rest of my comments for the legislation after the amendment is added to it. Vice
Okay,
Mayor.
I appreciate that. So you have moved your amendment. It's been properly seconded and explained. And so is there any discussion on Ms. Porterfield's amendment to her bill? Okay, Ms. Kimbrough, on the amendment in particular, please, ma'am. Or do you wish to wait to speak later to the bill as amended?
It doesn't. Oh.
Okay, okay, all right, so you're going to wait and speak on the bill as amended, okay? All righty then, is there anyone else seeking to discuss the amendment in particular? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or abstaining on the amendment? Okay, Ms. Kimbrough is a no on the amendment. Mr. Clerk, if you would record that, please. Any other noes or abstention on the amendment in particular? Okay. That's in order for an amendment. Okay, thank you. Okay, and so with that, Ms. Porterfield, we are back to you on your bill as amended.
Thank you. I'll give just a brief synopsis of the discussion. We had a very robust discussion in Budget and Finance. And Councilmember Kimber, I know, who's going to speak about some things, brought up some really great concerns that many of us were not aware of. And there were some concerns about the amount of time that it takes in some instances with the processing and if someone had their vehicle brought to this lot outside of their control, just how we're charging those fees to people. So based on that conversation, I did share in committee, so I wanted to share it here as well, that I was going to request a meeting with MNPD, Legal, and Finance to discuss ways that we can look at this particular policy and determine if we can figure out a way to make sure that these cars are being processed in the shortest period of time. Also making sure that it's very clear when there are instances where a person can request a refund, just making sure that it's very clear how they can go about doing that. And then also looking at, are there times where we can maybe do some type of supplement where an individual has not done anything wrong, but their car ended up there so that they don't have to pay for it. So I'm asking my colleagues to approve this today and just to know that we are working on this overall and trying to make it better.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. Ms. Porterfield has moved approval of this bill as amended. That is what's before us, and so now it's time for discussion on the bill as amended. Ms. Kimbrough, you are recognized, ma'am.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And Ms. Porterfield did address a lot of my concerns because we did discuss them. I think she may be on both committees, I'm not sure. But anyway, we have discussed it. It's the same discussion. My issue is with the process itself. I think it's fundamentally flawed that you can take a person's vehicle against their will, without their consent, that you can take it to the towing lot. You charge fees for tow, you charge fees for docking, you charge an administrative fee. I just think it's a lot for a person who has no control and can't get their vehicle back. They can't say, hey, on the third day, I'm ready to get it back. You have to wait until they allow you to get it back. And you all owe all of these fees to get it. Practically speaking, a lot of people are still paying car notes. They are having hard times anyway. You go down there, you find that out. You can't even get it out then a lot of times because you can't pay the money, which means the docking fee continues to accumulate. And so I just take issue with that to begin with. And I want to say it here, I also think we're going to open ourselves up to some type of liability for that, where we are taking cars and people cannot get them back. They're not allowed any type of due process. All you can do is pay the bill. And I know there was some talk about you can make a claim with Metro, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be paid, but you've got to figure out how to do that. Something's got to lead you there. They don't have a big sign saying you can contest this and go to claims. So I just have a problem with that. And then to say on top of that, this administrative fee, I'm just against the fees in general, but then to say the administrative fee can be determined by someone, by the chief, whatever that may be, even if it's $1 too, but usually it's not, it's more than that. But it's still additional fees for something you have no control over. And then I just recently found out that victims of crime, like say if your vehicle is stolen and taken to the impound lot, you're still subjected to fees as well. The deputy chief explained to me today that those don't kick in when you're a victim of a crime. The fees don't kick in until 48 hours later, but still those are fees. And I don't know when they call the victim to say, hey, come get your car. But I do think we're going to have to examine that at some point. And she did address a lot of my issues, but I'm still voting no. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for letting us know. Okay, is there anyone else seeking to have discussion on the bill as amended? Okay. This bill is on second reading. So even though we know we will have a no vote, Ms. Kimbrough, we do not have to go on the boards at this time. Okay. So all in favor of this bill as amended, please say aye. Any voting no?
No.
Okay. Any abstaining? Okay. The bill passes second of 3 readings. Okay. All right. The next second reading item that was not on consent is 104. Oh, I apologize, 97. Didn't get that one marked. Yep, there it is. Okay. Agenda item 97, BL 2024-234, sponsors Porterfield, Evans, Welsh, Cortez, Cupin, Gad, and Spain, is an ordinance approving an agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, acting by and through the Nashville Fire Department, Emergency Medical Services Division, and Vanderbilt University Medical Center to provide clinical training for the students enrolled in the Emergency Medical Technician Program. Okay, Ms. Porterfield, you are recognized for committee reports, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, Budget and Finance considered this item and voted 11 in favor, 0 against, and 1 not voting.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Chair Public Health and Safety, Ms. Evans, you're recognized. This is on BL 2024-231.
Yes, we considered this item and we voted 7 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting.
Okay, thank you, Chair Evans. Okay, so it's back to you, Sponsor Porterfield. Go
Move
ahead.
for approval.
Okay, Ms. Porterfield has moved approval. Do I hear a second? Okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this bill? Okay, Ms. Porterfield, anything else to say here? Nope. Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay. Seeing none, that bill passes on second reading. Okay. Next then is agenda item 104. That is BL 2024-238. Sponsors Parker and Gamble. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon easement rights for properties located at 661B Joseph Avenue, a small portion of Joseph Avenue at Berry Street, and 600B Joseph Avenue along the north side of the former Berry Street. Councilman Parker, you are recognized, sir, for your committee reports.
Committee reports, please.
Okay, first, Mr. Harrell, Vice Chair Harrell for the Planning and Zoning Committee on Mr. Parker's Bill 238, please, sir.
Planning and zoning considered BL 2024-238. There were 11 in favor, 0 against, 0 no votes.
Okay, 11 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions. Okay, and back to you then, Chair Parker, for the Transportation Infrastructure Committee report.
Transportation and Infrastructure considered a late amendment, voted 11 in favor, 0 against, and then the bill as amended recommended approval, 11 in favor and 0 against. And I believe that's the last, so I will move I'll move the bill.
Yes.
And in order to,
Right.
can I get a sec? Sorry.
That's okay. You can move approval of the bill and then we'll address the amendment next, okay? Properly moved, properly seconded. Okay, so this bill is properly before us, having heard the committee reports, knowing that there is a late amendment. I think you're going to have to suspend the rules next, Mr. Parker. Okay, go ahead, please, sir.
I would like to suspend the rules to introduce the late filed amendment.
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Prep T, Vice Chair of Rules, Confirmations, and Elections, do you have a report on the nature of the late file, sir?
Yes, thank you, Madam
Oh,
President.
yep, there you go. You're acknowledged. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The Rules, Confirmations, and Public Elections Committee considered the late filed nature of BL 2024-238 found that it was in conformity with Rule 13 as far as an emergency late file, and voted 5 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting for approval.
Okay, you've heard a report from the Rules Committee as to the nature of the suspension of the rules, and you have already moved to suspend the rules, correct? Okay, is there any objection to the suspension of the rules for Mr. Parker to put on this late amendment? Seeing none, the rules are suspended, Mr. Parker. So it's back to you to make a motion now on your amendment, sir. Oh, sorry. Dang it. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'll move the late amendment.
Okay, brief explanation, sir, just so members
Brief
know.
explanation. This is a technical correction. The developer's attorney found a mistake in the easement, the infrastructure legislation that was filed. They emailed it over to me, I don't know, 2-3 days ago, beyond the filing deadline. I sent it immediately to staff, and they got it filed and sent an email copy out to everybody's inbox. So you do have a copy of this in your email inbox as well.
Great. I appreciate the clarification. It's a technical correction. Okay, so there is a motion to approve this amendment. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor of Mr. Parker's amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, so now, Mr. Parker, it's back to you on your bill as amended, sir.
Thank you. I'll move the bill as amended.
Okay, properly moved. I guess I heard a second out there. Is there any discussion on Councilman Parker's bill as amended? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any voting no? Any abstaining? Okay, so you, sir, have passed this bill on second of 3 readings. Thank you, Chair Parker. Moving next to 3rd reading. We have 3 items that were pulled from consent on 3rd. Let's see. I think first among them, is it 120? Okay. Agenda item 120, Ordinance BL 2023-120, sponsors Gamble, Allen, Rutherford, and Hancock. An ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, the zoning ordinance of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, to amend Chapter 17.04, 17.12, and 17.40 pertaining to lot averaging, all of which is described herein. Ms. Allen, will you be taking this up? Okay.
Committee reports, please.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see. It was referred to the Planning and Zoning Committee. So that is to you, Vice Chair Harrell. Go ahead, sir.
Madam Chair, Planning and Zoning, we considered BL 2023-120. As amended, there was 12 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions.
Okay, 12 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions. Okay, let's see. Ms. Allen, it is back to you for a motion on the bill to get it before us, so then we can take up the amendment, please,
Correct. I'd
ma'am.
like to move the bill and then amend it.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, alrighty, and so regarding the amendment,
I would like to move the amendment with the brief explanation.
do I hear a second? Okay, go ahead, please, ma'am.
Thank you. This was just an amendment that planning staff was nice enough to work with me on, and I'll let Ms. Milligan explain that.
Okay, Ms. Milligan from the Planning Department, you're recognized, ma'am.
Certainly. So the bill, as approved by the Planning Commission, indicated that for projects that are within certain distance of specifically defined parks, we're required to only have 10% open space. There was a bit of odd language that made it less than clear, and so we are just clarifying to make sure that it is abundantly clear that if you are within those distances of the parks, that you are only required to have 10% open space, as opposed to the 15% that's otherwise required. So this is just a clerical amendment to make the language super clear.
Okay, I appreciate the explanation of the amendment. The amendment has been moved and seconded. And is there anything else you would like to share about it, Ms. Allen? Okay, is there any further discussion on the amendment? Anyone seeking to be recognized on the amendment? Nope. Okay, all in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, now Ms. Allen, we are to you on the bill as amended.
Thank you. I'd like to move the bill as amended.
Okay, do I hear a second? Okay, properly moved, properly seconded. All in favor of BL 2023-120 as amended on third reading, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any voting no or any abstaining? Okay, all right, you have adopted this bill on third reading. Okay, now we're moving on to agenda item 130. It's BL 2024-195, sponsors Bradford, Gamble, and Parker. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water pump station and easements for property located at 1 Terminal Drive, also known as MNAA TARI Pump House. Okay, Mr. Bradford, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I don't believe there's any outstanding committee reports.
No, sir, they're not.
All right, so this and the subsequent bill are all kind of related to the new construction and growth at the airport. And so the reason I wanted to pull them is I wanted to be marked as a no, because with what's going on, I can't in good conscience vote yes to allow for more of our community to be taken and destroyed by the airport. So, and it was mentioned earlier what kind of power we have over the airport. This is basically it. Every now and then they have to come to us for these approvals. So this is where we can show our displeasure, and that's why I'm choosing to do right now by asking the clerk to put me as a no vote.
Okay, I wish we could do it just that simply, but because it is on third, we will have to go on the machines and on the boards for it. But Mr. Bradford, do you have you moved approval yet, sir? I don't believe so.
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion on this bill before we move to the vote? Any discussion or questions for Mr. Bradford? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, if you would please open the machines, because we know we will have a no vote, colleagues. And so when this is an ordinance on third reading, we have to go by rule onto the machines. Okay, all the votes are in. Mr. Clerk, close the machines and show the vote, please. Okay, 28 votes in favor, 2 against, and 1 abstaining. This ordinance is adopted on third reading. Okay, next, back to you, Councilman Bradford. This is agenda item 131, sponsors Bradford, Gamble, and Parker. An ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to accept new public water main and easements for property located at 1 Terminal Drive, also known as MNAA TARI RWM. You're recognized, Mr. Bradford.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Again, I believe all committee reports are in.
Yes, sir.
All right, move for approval, but I will be voting no, so we'll have to go to the board.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mr. Bradford has moved approval. It's been properly seconded. Is there anyone seeking discussion or questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, if you would please, because this is on third reading with a no vote, please open the machines. Okay, with all votes in, Mr. Clerk, please close the machines and show the vote. Okay, this motion passes. 25 in favor, 5 against, and 0 abstaining. You adopt ordinance 2024-196 on third reading. Okay, we have one more item on third reading that was not on consent. It is agenda item 137. BL 2024-202, sponsors Parker and Gamble. This is an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assembly, sanitary sewer manholes and easements, and to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assemblies, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 2 properties located at 651 and 660 Joseph Avenue, also known as the River Chase Apartments. Councilman Parker, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I believe committee reports are all in. Move approval. I think you might need to go on the board because there's going to be a no.
Okay, I appreciate that clarification. Okay, so I see some discussion. You're not seeking to be recognized? Okay, this has been moved and seconded. Is anyone seeking discussion on this matter? Seeing none, we can move to the vote. Mr. Clerk, please open the machines. Okay, with all votes in, Mr. Clerk, please close the machines and show the vote. Okay, the motion passes 29 in favor, 1 voting no, and 0 abstaining. So this ordinance has passed third and final reading. And we, colleagues, are at the end of our agenda. Well done. Our next meeting will be on March 19th. Is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.